One fine day, huge towers began to appear all over the world. None of the people knew the reason for this phenomenon, but everyone understood that it was closely related to magic. Most people were happy to meet the mythical creatures inhabiting the towers, but for others, it only brought disaster. Terrible monsters from dungeons increasingly began to appear outside the walls of magic towers. To protect the world from their influence, the Chosen Ones began to study magical dungeons and clear them of monsters. To resist the terrible monsters inhabiting the magic towers, the Chosen Ones had to have superpowers. Over time, people started calling these chosen daredevils superheroes. Since childhood, the guy was fond of superheroes and did not miss a single TV show or news related to the Chosen Ones. The guy admired how superheroes used their abilities to help people. He really wanted to have superpowers and be famous all over the world, so he decided by all means to become one of them. To achieve his goals, the guy began to study hard, spending days and nights studying complex disciplines. The guy began his training with the simplest books that explained the basics of mana management. Every year he moved on to more complex books and scientific treatises, devoting a huge amount of time to studying them. The moment came when the guy read almost all the books available in the country. Students gathered near the information board to get acquainted with the results of the entrance exams to the academy. The guy's name is Hanshin. He does not hide his joy because he successfully passed the entrance exam and took first place. Hanshin managed to get into the academy. His childhood dream came true, and now he can become a superhero. Hanshin is studying at the university for the second year. He reads the letter carefully. The guy learns that he occupies 274th place in the table of ranks. Hanshin is losing a training match. He believes that there are obstacles in his way that cannot be overcome. Hanshin lacks the innate skills that superheroes have, and the guy decides to leave the academy. Hanshin tries to forget about his only dream. He completely immerses himself in writing adventure novels. For the past year, the guy has been busy writing fictional stories about great heroes and their legendary battles. In his stories, Hanshin describes huge towers that are sources of magical energy. The guy comes up with a superhero who can control his mana and wield all types of bladed weapons. His stories feature a mysterious hermit who spent his entire life in the forest of death. Hanshin describes things in his stories that he could not achieve in real life. The guy has almost completed his last story. He is saddened by the fact that this is just a fictional story and not his real life. Hanshin decides to finish the last chapter but cannot decide on the ending. The guy decides to relax and get some sleep and then finish his story. Hanshin turns on the TV. He switches it to his favorite channel to check the latest news. The announcer of the information block reports that the sacred hero, after long wanderings, is returning to his homeland. The voice of an announcer is heard, which says that most of the towers have been cleared by superheroes. The planet has become one step closer to a peaceful existence. Hanshin admires the superhero who, while very young, became famous throughout the world. The guy wonders why he lacks the innate skills necessary to become a superhero. Hanshin is confident that he put in a lot more effort than everyone else. Frustrated, the guy falls on the bed. He believes that he needs to forget about his superhero career. Hanshin falls asleep soundly, at which time his computer on the table turns on. A program is launched on the computer that informs about the formation of towers with a similar setting from the guy's stories. The program on the computer reports that the new tower has been successfully created. The morning of a new day comes. Bright sun rays make their way into Hanshin's room. The loud voice of the announcer of a news program can be heard from the TV. The guy fell asleep, forgetting to turn off the TV. The announcer is alarmed. He says that an unprecedented event has occurred. 5 new towers have appeared in the country overnight. There is a live broadcast from the places where new towers have appeared. The reporter lists the names of the towers. Hanshin instantly wakes up from sleep. The names of the new towers completely repeat the names from the guy's stories. Hanshin has a hard time believing what is happening. He believes that perhaps he heard it. The guy goes to his computer to check the information. Hanshin is very alarmed. He sees that all the files with his stories have disappeared from the computer. The guy checks all the directories and folders, but cannot find files with stories anywhere. Hanshin stands motionless in the middle of the room. The voice of an announcer is heard, which says that today, the government has begun work to stabilize the situation. The guy still can't believe what happened. He assumes that he is sleeping and dreaming. A virtual screen appears in front of Hanshin, informing him that his stories have been used to create the towers. The guy is trying to calm down and pull himself together. He still can't believe what's happening. A virtual screen informs Hanshin that he is the true owner of the 7 towers and gains a unique dive skill. The guy cannot understand how new towers appeared with the names of characters from his stories. A virtual screen informs Hanshin that the dive skill has been successfully activated. Hanshin, being a simple person with no innate abilities, gains a unique class skill. The guy sits in front of the virtual screen. He realizes that having such a skill, he has the opportunity to become a superhero. Hanshin tries to use the dive skill, but his attempts do not lead to success. The virtual screen informs the guy that the activation attempt is impossible since the difference in characteristics is too great. Hanshin is very unhappy that additional conditions are required to activate the dive skill. The guy understands that in order to use the skill, serious preparation is needed. Hanshin heads to the store. He thinks that he needs to choose the goal of the dive, determine his emotions and character. The guy reaches for a package of quick lunch. He believes that first he needs to refresh himself, and only then continue to figure out how to use the new power. His deep thoughts are interrupted by the steps of an approaching girl. Hanshin slowly turns around. The guy sees a girl in front of him who tells him that she is very glad to see him. Hanshin recognizes the girl as his old friend, with whom he studied at the academy. The girl's name is Saren. She is a successful student and has unique skills in the world of ice. Hanshin became close to the girl while studying at the academy when he helped her with her homework at the request of her mother. The guy avoided communicating with the girl because he was afraid that she might know about his constant losses during training battles. Saren tells the guy that they haven't seen each other for a long time. She's interested in finding out what's new in Hanshin's life. The girl is sincerely glad to see the guy. She remembers her previous studies together at the academy. Saren tells the guy that he smells strongly of alcohol. The girl wonders why the guy drinks during the day. The girl believes that the guy has problems in his life. She asks about how his life and food work. Hanshin replies that everything is fine with him. He suggests changing the topic and asks the girl how her studies at the academy are going. Saren tells the guy that he is still remembered at the academy, as he was a very prominent student and showed great promise. The girl reports that there are rumors that the Guild of the Heavenly Palace tried to recruit the guy. The Heavenly Palace Guild is one of the 3 strongest guilds in the country, and it is difficult for ordinary students to get into it. Hanshin is surprised that he is still remembered at the academy after leaving. The guy says that he was pleased to meet an old friend, and it's time for him to return home. Suddenly, the entire surrounding area of the store is filled with Everton energy. Everton's energy flow is very strong. Hanshin is trying to concentrate and collect his thoughts. There is a stranger standing in the corner of the room. The guy notices him and makes the assumption that this man is a follower of demons. Hanshin tries to understand where the demon follower came from and what he could be doing here. Saren notices a change in the guy's behavior and asks him about the reason for his concern. A demon follower standing in the corner of the store begins to emit dark energy. The mysterious man is unable to stay on his feet and falls to the floor next to Hanshin and Saren. The girl sees the unconscious man and tries to approach him to help, but Hanshin orders her to stay put. The guy realizes that Everton's mysterious follower is starting to summon blood wolves. Dark energy creates a huge energy portal. Hanshin and Saren watch what is happening with alarm. Blood wolves, summoned by an Everton follower, begin to emerge from the energy portal. The blood wolves slowly emerge from the portal and head towards the store's visitors. Loud screams are heard. People run away in horror in different directions. They are pursued by bloody wolves. Shop visitors are very frightened. They want to leave the premises as quickly as possible. Screaming loudly, people run towards the exit. The unexpected attack of the blood wolves caused panic. This attack was organized by a group of demon worshippers who hate the 7 superheroes and are ready to do anything to achieve their goals. Hanshin immediately understands who organized this attack, since information about the organization was part of his last novel. Saren sees a group of people cut off from the exit. She intends to immediately come to their aid. The girl tells the guy that he needs to immediately save the people trapped, but immediately remembers that the guy doesn't have superpowers. Saren asks the guy to distract the blood wolves while she protects the people. Hanshin is under great stress. He realizes that of all the skills he has, the only skill he has is good running. A huge bloody wolf runs up to the guy. He growls loudly but does not dare to attack. Hanshin experiences great fear and watches the blood wolf carefully to anticipate its attack. A moment later, emitting a wild roar, a huge bloody wolf rushes at the guy. Hanshin deftly dodges him, but the wolf still touches him with his paw and inflicts a wound on his face. The guy realizes that without a weapon, he has no chance to resist the beast. He decides to use the sign standing nearby. Hanshin picks up the pointer and tries to hold back the bloody wolf. The hellish creature's attack is repelled, but the blood wolves are about to try again. Hanshin is not sure that he can repel another attack and wants to call Saren for help. He sees that the girl is busy protecting the store's visitors. The guy realizes that only the use of immersion techniques can help him. He tries to use the memories of his original story. A huge magical tower from his novels appears in his mind. Hanshin recalls the events he imagined the last 2 years, in which one of the characters was a swordsman cutting through the horizon. The guy is going to borrow his abilities using the dive skill. Hanshin gives the command to activate the skill. A virtual screen appears, which informs the guy that there is a very large difference in strength. This can lead to instant death. The guy is very upset that he couldn't activate the dive skill. He goes into a frenzy and tries to activate the dive skill again. Hanshin forces himself to calm down and choose a specific target to dive from among the 7 heroes he has. The guy feels a change in the flow of energy around him and understands that he made the right decision. Hanshin focuses on memories of a character who can help him at the moment. The guy enters into an energetic connection with his hero and feels that this dive attempt should be successful. Hanshin gives the command to activate the dive skill. A virtual screen informs the guy that the dive has been successfully completed. Magic towers are a combination of reality and myth. Only the right balance allows you to use their magic. The owner of a magic tower must clearly grasp the correct balance for fantasy to become reality. Hanshin feels the energy emanating from the hero of the novel, who received his own tower. Having completed the dive, the guy has acquired the skills and strength of the chosen hero. He intends to destroy the Blood Wolves. Hanshin rushes to attack using the magical power of the Gate Guardian, who was mentioned in his novel. The Gatekeeper's job was to counter superior enemy forces with a small force. A huge bloody wolf lets out a loud roar and rushes to attack the guy. Hanshin uses the pointer. He uses it like a spear and delivers a series of precise blows to the aggressive beast. During the fight, the guy's punching power increases and his maneuvering skill is also activated. Using the acquired skills, Hanshin systematically destroys the Blood Wolves one after another. The leader of the pack of Blood Wolves remains alive. The guy is preparing to repel his attack. Suddenly, the leader of the pack turns around and tries to escape, as he realizes that he does not have the slightest chance of defeating the guy. Hanshin does not intend to let the leader of the Blood Wolves go. He throws a pointer at him, which overtakes the beast and destroys it. Saren uses his unique Ice World skill to save store patrons. The girl asks the people around her if anyone needs medical help. Saren thinks about Hanshin. She remembers that the guy has not yet awakened his magical skills. She is surprised by what she sees. The guy is standing surrounded by the defeated Bloody Wolves of Everton. At this moment, the diving skill is turned off, and Hanshin falls to the floor, exhausted. The guy is incredibly happy that he now knows how to use the dive skill. The virtual screen informs the guy that his body was not ready to withstand such force, and he will have to accept the energy return, which will cause severe physical ailments. Saren runs up to the guy. She is very worried about his condition and asks him if he is okay. Hanshin replies that he is fine, just experiencing severe muscle pain, since he has not had strong physical exertion for a long time. The girl is amazed at how the guy was able to repel the attack of the Bloody Wolves without any skills. Hanshin feels proud of himself. He was able to stop a whole flock of hellish monsters with his own hands. The girl believes that the training at the academy was not in vain for the guy. She does not yet realize that he has the diving skill. Hanshin realizes that he can use the immersion skill by using minor characters that match his level. The guy still cannot recover from the strong energy returns that continue to repeat after a short period of time. Hanshin decides that he needs to build up his stamina, and with these thoughts, the guy falls into a deep sleep. The loud ringing of the phone wakes up the guy, but he does not want to wake up and answer the call. After a while, the guy finally picks up the phone and reads the message that came to him. Hanshin makes a sharp move towards his computer to check the version that just occurred to him. The guy still feels very unwell due to energy kickbacks. Hanshin receives a huge number of messages on his phone. He understands that many people have become aware of the incident in the store. The guy sits down at his computer and sees that the news about the attack on the store is present on many information platforms. The news that Academy students saved people from monsters spreads across the internet with great speed. The guy answers Saren's call. She tells him that he has become a celebrity. Hanshin has dreamed of being a famous superhero since childhood, and he realizes that his life is beginning to change for the better. The guy's phone is constantly ringing and messages are coming in. All his old acquaintances want to meet him and chat. Hanshin believes that he needs to seize the moment. For him, the life of a superhero has begun. A guy is riding in a subway car. He is busy looking at breaking news on his phone. When magic towers first appeared, many superheroes rushed to conquer them. The most successful superheroes who were able to conquer the towers received rare and powerful skills, as well as world-famous popularity and millions of loyal fans. Hanshin reads that at the moment the difficulty of the towers has increased to an impossible level. It is extremely difficult to conquer the magic tower. The Swordmaster Tower is based on the stories of Hanshin. So far, no one has been able to enter the tower, not even high-ranking superheroes. Walking fast is very difficult for the guy. He constantly thinks that he needs to train more. Hanshin, with great difficulty, tries to regain his lost breath. He reached the magic tower of the Swordmaster. The guy looks at the magic tower. Its majestic appearance makes him feel delighted. Hanshin approaches the large stone located at the entrance of the magic tower. He feels the energy of the seven heroes. It's unusual for the guy to see words and phrases carved on stone, which he previously could only imagine in his imagination. The loud cry of a stranger distracts the guy from his thoughts. The stranger asks him to be careful. The stranger concludes that this is the guy's first time near the tower and asks him not to touch everything. Hanshin knows that the tower can be entered simply by touching certain magical objects. An energy connection arises between the guy and a large stone located next to the magic tower. The tower recognizes Hanshin as its true owner. The guy hears a voice that invites him to visit the magic tower. At the same moment, Hanshin finds himself inside the space of the magic tower. He stands in a clearing overgrown with grass. The guy is pleased with the fact that he ended up inside the tower, but he does not fully understand how this happened. Inside the tower space, a superhero sits behind a large screen. He expresses his dissatisfaction with the fact that someone outside is hanging around his tower. The superhero finds such an incident very strange. He does not like Hanshin. He calls him an idiot. The superhero scans Hanshin's mana. It indicates that the guy is a simple person. Using surveillance systems, he continues to monitor Hanshin and concludes that something is wrong with the guy. The owner of the tower decides to call Hanshin inside in order to get answers to his questions. The superhero's name is Dissect. He orders to invite the guy to the first floor of the Swordmaster's tower. On a busy street, a talk show dedicated to conquering magic towers is broadcast on a large television screen. Hanshin recalls how in the recent past, he made superhuman efforts to become a superhero. The guy took last place in the practical exam and was labeled a failure. A virtual screen appears next to Hanshin, informing him that he has been invited inside the magic tower. The virtual screen demands that the guy stop pretending to be a loser and go inside the tower. The owner of the tower lowered the difficulty level for entering the tower. This greatly interested Hanshin. The guy asks how the tower owner can change the difficulty level of the defense. Hanshin realizes that Dissect may be very different from the character he created. He recalls the story of his fictional hero who, with the help of his teacher, awakens mana, defeats his enemies, and becomes a famous superhero. In the past, he could not imagine that he would be able to talk to the main character of his book. The guy remembers what other options there might be in order to penetrate the tower. A loud scream distracts him from his thoughts. A huge majestic dragon hovers in the sky above the guy. Hanshin looks at it with fascination. The guy remembers that disaster-class monsters should appear in 50 minutes. Hanshin decides to start doing something. If he remains in place, he will certainly die. To begin with, Hanshin is about to understand where he is. He feels the wet soil of a grassy meadow under his feet. The guy examines the space around him. He sees a large number of incomprehensible pieces of wood. Hanshin picks up one of the pieces of wood from the ground and looks at it carefully. The guy understands that these are fragments of wooden swords that are used for training. Hanshin continues to look at the fragments of wooden training swords and remembers the first chapter of his novel. The guy remembers that the tower in which he is located was the place where the untalented boy awakened his talent. Hanshin picks up a piece of wood and makes a wooden training sword. The main character knows that the opening part of the novel will take place in the tower, so he begins intensive training. The guy hopes that in the near future, he will be able to penetrate the first floor of the magic tower. At times, the main character has doubts. Even though the towers were created based on his novel, he is not confident in the successful completion of the mission. Hanshin understands that the more he doubts, the less time he will have. The guy thrusts his wooden training sword into the ground with all his might. The main character holds his wooden sword tightly. He feels that the sword has rested against something. Hanshin pulls out a wonderful plant from underground that can permanently increase magical power by 1 level. The guy looks around and notices that there is a large concentration of a very rare magical plant around. He does not intend to waste time and begins to greedily eat the woven coconut fiber. The magical plant not only looks terrible but also tastes disgusting. Despite the terrible taste, the guy finds strength and continues to eat woven coconut fiber. The virtual screen informs the main character that there are 45 minutes left before the monsters appear. Hanshin tells himself to pull himself together. He needs to continue eating the disgusting tasting plant in order to stay alive. The guy experiences nausea and severe stomach pain. He cannot remember how many plants he ate. Hanshin feels that his perception of mana has increased, but the guy's physical condition is extremely unstable. The main character has accumulated enough mana. Now he needs to transfer it to the sword, as the hero of his novel did. Dissect, sitting on a large throne inside the tower, watches Hanshin in surprise. She is surprised that the guy knew about the existence of a magical plant. Dissect suspects that the guy has information about the magic tower, since it is impossible to accidentally guess the existence of the plant. Hanshin concentrates magical energy. He begins to remember his novel. A young magician girl's name is Alice. One day she lost all her partners during an unsuccessful raid on demons. Alice met Dissect and taught him mana control, since the guy at that time could not use it correctly and was harming himself. Alice constantly helped the people around her, and over time she became Dissect's first teacher. Hanshin chooses Alice and plans to use her for the next dive. The guy raises his wooden training sword high above him and fills it with magical energy. With great force, he thrusts the wooden training sword into the ground, a huge whirlwind of energy surrounding the guy. Hanshin shouts loudly, using magical energy. He summons the dive skill. The surrounding space is illuminated with flashes of energy. The immersion into a high-level magician has been successfully completed. Dissect watches Hanshin carefully. He jumps out of his chair in surprise. He feels a familiar energy. Dissect can't figure out who the guy is. He senses his teacher's mana. Hanshin slowly clears mana and directs it from the heart to the fingertips and then into the sword. The magical flow of mana begins to get out of control. It is greatly depleted. Dissect continues to be surprised by the guy's skills. He sees how he tries to use mana control. The guy hears a voice warning that further manipulation of mana can lead to death. Hanshin realizes the seriousness of the threat. He understands that the movement of mana can lead to abnormalities in the body. The guy continues his magical manipulations. He does not want to humbly await his fate. Hanshin experiences severe overloads. With the help of monstrous efforts, he maintains control over his mana. The energy funnel surrounding the guy disappears, the wind subsides, and an oppressive silence sets in. Hanshin has lost a lot of strength. He is bent over, holding onto his wooden training sword. The TV presenter of the talk show is reporting live from the scene. She greets her regular viewers. The TV presenter says that near the Magic Tower, there are many superheroes who decided to try their luck. She reports that over the past 2 weeks, no one has been able to get inside the tower. A girl approaches a random superhero and asks him for permission to interview her. The TV presenter asks the guy what he thinks about the difficulty of entering the new Magic Tower. The girl wonders if anyone will be able to get inside the tower today. The guy reports that he knows that the tower is somehow connected with combat swords. He says that soon he will have more information, and he will be able to clear the new Magic Tower without much effort. A message arrives that the first floor of the tower has been cleared, so the passage to the Swordmaster's Tower is temporarily blocked. Those present were very surprised. They do not understand who was able to do this and when. The operators are discussing among themselves the unexpected clearing of the first floor of the tower. They believe that a mysterious and very powerful newcomer has appeared among the superheroes. The operators say that something is happening near the entrance to the tower, and if you have time, you can get an exclusive interview. The girl hears their conversation and orders them to quickly run to the entrance to the Magic Tower. The talk show host is in a hurry. She does not notice Hanshin lying in her path and steps on him. The girl looks at Hanshin attentively. She is very surprised by the guy's complete lack of reaction. The talk show host does not understand whether the guy is sleeping or unconscious. The operator's voice is heard asking the girl to hurry up. The talk show host apologizes to the guy and continues her run. The main character gradually begins to come to his senses. He gathers his strength to get up. Upon regaining consciousness, the first thing he discovers is that he is outside the tower, which greatly surprises the guy. Hanshin doesn't understand why he is outside the tower, since he cleared the first floor. The main character clearly hears Dissect's voice. He is surprised that the owner of the tower can communicate with him outside of it. Dissect tells the guy that he can communicate with him both inside and outside the Magic Tower. The owner of the tower watches the main character. He is amused by the surprised appearance of Hanshin. A virtual screen appears in front of the guy, which informs him that Dissect can only talk to him outside the tower. The virtual screen tells the guy that Dissect is very interested in the show he put on inside. Dissect requires the protagonist to immediately reveal all his cards and inform him of who he really is. Hanshin replies that the time has not yet come for this. He says that he was glad to meet Dissect and promises to see him later. Dissect informs the main character that he will not leave him alone and is going to follow him. Hanshin reacts surprisingly calmly to this news. He believes that Dissect cannot be dissuaded. The guy is at home. He lies in bed and thinks that Dissect has an extremely stubborn character. Hanshin rested a little. He slept well and he feels much better. All the events that happened in the tower are perceived by the guy as a dream, but he looks at his palm, emitting magical energy, and realizes that this is not so. Hanshin watches with surprise the changes happening to his body. He does not understand what is happening to him. The main character's body is overflowing with mana. He is going to immediately check the characteristics. Hanshin's mana increased 6-fold, and his strength, agility, and endurance increased. The guy carefully reads the information on the virtual screen. He is happy that he has acquired 7 new skills. The voice of Dissect is heard. telling the guy that he has improved quite well lately. Dissect asks the main character to check the stat window, as it gave him more than just skills. Hanshin learns that his mana limit has been completely removed, and his sensitivity and control have also increased. The guy jumps out of bed in joyful emotions. The voice of Dissect is heard, which reports that he expected such a reaction. On the territory of the academy, there is a huge inspection and testing center. The guy passes through the turnstile unhindered, since his old study pass is still valid. Dissect's voice can be heard praising the guy for deciding to immediately train immediately after clearing the first floor. Hanshin is not going to train. He intends to test his new combat capabilities. The guy is closely watched by a man standing in the corner of the room. He feels extreme hostility towards the main character. Hanshin manages to dodge the object flying at him in the last fractions of seconds. Someone threw a can of soda water at the guy with great force. The force of the throw was so strong that it flattened the can. From the depths of the room, Hanukil approaches Hanshin. He asks the guy where he has been hiding all this time. The main character does not enjoy the presence of Hanukil, who constantly ruined his life during his studies. Hanukil makes offensive jokes about the guy. He doesn't mince words. Hanshin thinks about why, out of many people, he met Hanukil today. Hanukil tells the guy that he came to the academy in vain. He continues to insult the guy. Hanshin does not hear the words that Hanukil speaks to him. He is immersed in memories. While studying at the academy, Hanukil defeated the guy in numerous fights. He did this with particular cruelty and bullying. Hanukil constantly mocked and insulted Hanshin. He considered him a second-class citizen. Hanukil tells the guy not to dare complain to the teachers, otherwise he will destroy him. The main character did not think that he would be able to meet his offender so soon. He intends to settle accounts with him for past grievances. Hanukil approaches the guy. He asks him in a quiet voice and in a mocking manner for permission to beat him once. A voice is heard in the corridor. The floor attendant is interested in what is happening. Hanukil does not want teachers and management to know about his behavior. He stops attacking the guy. Hanukil tells the main character that he is lucky today. He intends to meet him later. Finally, Hanukil secretly deals a strong blow to Hanshin and retreats deeper into the room. Hanshin believes in keeping your emotions in check and focusing on testing and evaluating performance. The guy presses the button on the front door. At this time, the voice of Dissect is heard, urging him not to behave like a rag. Hanshin believes that you need to deal with priority tasks and not waste time on disgusting moral monsters. The guy is standing in the middle of a huge room. A metallic voice tells him to stay in place and not make any movements. The retina is scanned and the student is identified, and the test system checks the information. The test system asks the guy what difficulty level he will choose. Hanshin selects the minimum difficulty level. The training system has analyzed the guy's characteristics and summons a low-level monster. The training system offers Hanshin to choose a weapon for a duel with a monster. The guy is going to test the level of his acquired skills, so he chooses a sword. Hanshin is pleased with the skills he has acquired. The sword lies comfortably in his hand. The guy does not feel its weight. The main character's body has acquired excellent mobility. He feels light and confident. Hanshin is eager to engage in battle with the monster. He hopes that the fight will bring him pleasure. The monster rushes to attack the guy. Hanshin cuts the training monster in half with a sharp blow. The guy cannot hide his joy. He defeated the training monster in a few seconds and set an academy record. Hanshin's next opponent is a more serious monster, a third-level wild stone wolf. The students present, located in the main hall, carefully watch the guy being tested using a large screen. Hanukil turns his attention to the noise and excitement near the screen. He becomes interested in what is happening there. The test is closely monitored by a teacher named Pom Chun. He is a zero-generation superhero with a lot of skills. Hanukil approaches Pom Chun. He says that he has long dreamed of becoming his student and asks to watch a video of his fights. Teacher Pom Chun replies that it will be difficult since he has just discovered an interesting guy. Hanukil wonders who could have attracted the attention of the academy teacher. Letting out a loud growl, the huge stone wolf slowly approaches Hanshin. The Pom Chun University teacher presses the speakerphone button. He intends to instruct the guy. Pom Chun asks the main character if he can hear him well. The teacher's voice distracts Hanshin from the fight for a moment. The guy answers Pom Chun. He says that he hears him well. Hanukil can't believe that the teacher chose Hanshin as an applicant. He asks Pom Chun not to rush into choosing. Pom Chun did not have time to turn off the speakerphone button. The guy listens carefully to the teacher's dialogue with Hanukil. The university teacher is pleased with Hanshin's actions and considers him an interesting and promising candidate. In the next room, a survival test is taking place. The student must survive in extreme cold for 7 hours. The test room can manipulate a person's feelings and can instill great fear. Most subjects experience intense fear, which prevents them from passing the test, but Hanshin does not respond to suggestion. The academy teacher notices that the guy is not the least bit scared and is not trying to escape. Hanshin is preparing to repel the attack of the stone wolf. The guy intends to pass today's test with an excellent result. The academy teacher presses the speakerphone button. He intends to find out who the guy is, a desperate daredevil or a fool. Pomchun asks the guy over the speakerphone whether he can hear him well and asks him to answer him. Hanshin cannot clearly hear the teacher's voice. He does not understand what he wants to tell him. Pomchun advises the protagonist to approach the stone wolf to see its weak point. This time the guy heard the teacher's words well. He is going to follow his instructions. Hanshin does not want to provoke the stone wolf into a premature attack, so he approaches it very slowly. When the guy reaches the required distance, he rushes to attack the monster. Hanshin delivers a series of slashes at the stone wolf, but the beast manages to dodge them. The guy intends to find a weak spot in the stone wolf's energy defense. A moment later, he discovers a gap in the energy protection located on the back of the monster's neck. The guy begins to approach the stone wolf to deliver the decisive blow. Hanshin hopes that he has correctly identified the weak point in the enemy's defense. The guy rushes at the stone wolf to hit his weak spot with all his might. The stone wolf counterattacks the guy. Hanshin meets him with a sharp blow from his training sword. The students and the teacher are in front of the screen. They praise and admire Hanshin. Hanukil cannot believe his eyes. He is very surprised by Hanshin's skills and begins to hate him even more. Pomchun's teacher sees the guy's reaction and asks if he knows Hanshin. Hanukil answers the academy teacher. He says that he knows the guy a little, since in the past they studied in the same course. Hanshin is a little tired after the training match. He hears Daisek's voice, which says that the guy showed himself well for a beginner. The main character cannot understand whether Daisek is praising him or subtly mocking him. Hanshin thinks that the pause in training has greatly weakened him. He plans to study a lot in order to use immersion more effectively. The guy remembers Dissect. He hopes that communicating with him will not make his character just as nasty. Hanshin's thoughts are interrupted by a loud voice, someone calling him by name. Opposite the guy is Pomchun. He says that it was he who spoke to him on the speakerphone. Hanshin greets the academy teacher and asks him who he is. Pomchun introduces himself to the guy and tells him that he is a teacher at a secret department. The main character tells Pomchun that he used to study at the academy, but was forced to take a leave of absence. Pomchun asks the guy which teacher taught him so well. Hanshin replies that the teachers did not give him much. Most of the time he studied on his own. Hanukil is always behind the teacher. He is silent all the time and listens carefully to the conversation. Pomchun says that there is no need to be offended by teachers, since they are different, and informs the guy that from today he will study with him. Hanukil falls into a state of intense rage. He cannot come to terms with the fact that Hanshin will be enrolled in the secret faculty instead of him. Hanukil considers this decision of the teacher unfair, since he wields a sword much better than many. He is one of the strongest students in the academy and has sports ranks in martial arts. In addition, Hanukil is one of the few who masters the rare technique of fighting with a spear. Pomchun tells the main character that he can teach the guy anything he wants. The offer from the academy teacher caused Hanshin joy and surprise. The guy was unable to contain his emotions. Hanshin assumes that the teacher at Pomchun Academy is proficient in all skill classes. The guy thinks about what great prospects will open up for him if Pomchun starts teaching him. The academy teacher notices traces of doubt on the protagonist's face and asks the guy if he trusts him. Pomchun tells the guy that there is no need to doubt your abilities. You need to be confident to achieve victory. A university teacher is going to do a test to see what suits Hanshin best. Pomchun uses his superhero gaze skill to get into the guy's mind and get information about him. Hanshin feels like a university teacher is trying to invade his mind using magical skills. The voice of Dissect is heard, telling the guy not to stand still like an idol and resist outside influence. Hanshin is unable to resist the experienced master. He feels Pomchun slowly sinking into his mind. The university teacher gains control of the guy's energy channels and reads the characteristics of his mana. The information received greatly surprises Pomchun. He cannot believe that the guy has the most ordinary magic. Pomchun finds this very strange and decides to go ahead and do a deeper scan. Hanshin is completely paralyzed. He cannot move and begins to choke. The guy wants to kick Pomchun out of his mind. Hanshin's mana activates. It begins to protect him. The guy performs a counterattack. Teacher Pomchun instantly senses it. Hanshin repels Pomchun's attack and directs the energy of the superhero's gaze towards the teacher. Pomchun considers the guy an interesting and promising young man. He once again invites him to be his student. Hanshin accepts the offer and tells the teacher that it is a great honor for him. Pomchun is pleased with the guy's answer. He says that Hanshin will achieve great results under his leadership. The main character and Pomchun exchange jokes, while Hanukil, standing to the side, looks at them with anger and hatred. Hanukil is full of hatred towards others. He believes that he tried harder than anyone, but those around him pay attention to Hanshin. He believes that fate is unfair to him. The teacher took Hanshin to study, not him. The next day comes, Hanshin is sitting at the computer in his small, cozy apartment. The guy remembers the eventful day yesterday and thinks about how his life has changed recently. The Pomchun teacher recommends that the guy take a good rest, since he will not have time for this during training. Pomchun tells the guy that education and training can only be stopped by death. The guy remembers the words of the academy teacher and realizes that severe trials await him. Hanshin decides to take a break and check out the latest news. His attention was drawn to a message about an alchemist competition in which the main prize would be an unknown mineral. Dissect, being in the magic tower, watches the guy and learns about the alchemist competition. Dissect recognizes the magic stone bastium in an unknown mineral. Hanshin recalls that bastium is a rare ore from the era of destruction that was present in his novel. The bastium is an ancient artifact and serves as proof of the existence of a god. The secrets of the magical mineral were strictly guarded by selected priests. The imperial family valued it very much. Every year they invested heavily in increasing its reserves. In the novel that Hanshin wrote, the magic stone was a very rare material. There was no more than 30 kilograms of it in the entire world. The guy knows that one of the secrets of bastium is that it looks like an ordinary stone. Very few can recognize it. Dissect is extremely dissatisfied that the prize at the alchemist competition is such a priceless artifact. Hanshin thinks that in his novels he simply made up this mineral and never really understood it much. Dissect tells the guy that he must get the priceless magic stone at any cost. With less than a week left before the start of the competition, Dissect suggests not wasting time and starting training. The voice of Dissect is heard, telling the guy that he needs to learn how to create magic potions in a short time. Magic potions are widely used in medicine, martial arts, and everyday life. Their creation is an extremely complex and very time-consuming task. Students attend classes for years to learn how to make even low-level potions. Using the skill of immersion, Hanshin spends days training and making magical infusions. With the help of Imperial Alchemy, he finally manages to create a first-level magic potion. The guy looks around. He notices that a large number of high-level students are taking part in the competition. Among the many participants in the competition, Hanshin sees famous students. One of them is Ronald. His father belongs to an ancient, powerful dynasty of masters. Hanshin thought that no one would be interested in the unknown stone, but he forgot about the masters. Superheroes collect a variety of rare materials in towers and dungeons. They bring them to masters who, using their knowledge and skills, create magical objects. Only 40 people receive the title of artisan. Among them, there are 8 of the best, who are called masters. Hanshin begins to doubt his victory and thinks that he came to the competition in vain. Dissect's voice is heard ordering the guy to stop whining. Hanshin decides to take a potion to improve his tone. The guy is unable to calmly drink the potion as a loud voice distracts him. Ronald approaches him. He says that he has not seen Hanshin here before and asks what kind of potion he is using. Ronald looks at the guy arrogantly. Hanshin's voice is heard, which says that this is a simple remedy for fatigue. Ronald carefully examines the main character and comes to the conclusion that Hanshin is a simple student from a poor family. Ronald expresses the opinion that it is necessary to tighten the requirements for participants and prohibit mediocrities and beggars from participating in the competition. Hanshin believes that after such an insult, he needs to win the competition at any cost. The alchemist competition begins. The main character hears the voice of Dissect, which demands that he wipe Ronald's nose. The participants begin making magic potions. They are in a hurry and fuss, since only 2 hours are allotted for the competition. Ronald is pleased with the organization of the competition and appreciates the quality of the ingredients and the technique provided by the organizers. His attention is drawn to Hanshin. The guy is standing motionless near the table with the ingredients. It is clear that he is in no particular hurry. Hanshin activates the dive skill in order to win the competition. Ronald calls the guy an idiot. He believes that he needs to move quickly in order to have time to collect quality ingredients and prepare a magic potion. He considers Hanshin a failure and intends to ignore him. In the huge guest room, workers are installing complex equipment. They plan to install a gravity control magic circle to concentrate mana as soon as possible. The girl says that the new student must be very talented, since ordinary gyms do not install such a number of magic circles. Pomchun tells the girl that his new student is a former student who is taking a break from the academy. He tells her that the new student was able to block his unique superhero gaze skill. Pomchun believes that Hanshin's skills are at least equal to his, and perhaps even superior in some ways. The academy teacher looks at his watch. He reports that he has an important meeting today. He says goodbye to the girl and asks her to supervise the installation work. Hanshin stands in front of the table with ingredients. He activates the dive skill. The guy chooses a target for the dive. This time it is the powerful alchemist Arian. In the guy's novels, the girl was a student of the great alchemist. She was not the best, but she had unique skills. Arian was fully aware of her shortcomings, so she read 100 magical books a day. As a result, she became the first student of the great alchemist, who shared his invaluable knowledge with her. Arian is capable of creating unique alchemical potions with which Hanshin can gain secret skills. The main character slowly drinks the magic potion that he received from Arian. A moment later, Hanshin is captured by a strong air vortex. The guy receives a huge amount of knowledge. The main character feels that his head is about to explode from the amount of information. He hears a voice saying that the amount of knowledge exceeds the permissible limit. Hanshin temporarily gains alchemy knowledge and experience, which increases every minute. Dissect watches the guy. He feels that the energy is different from what it was during their training together in the tower. Hanshin has experienced severe physical and mental overload. The guy is trying to come to his senses and collect his thoughts. After a while, he returns to reality and carefully looks around. Hanshin realizes that there is little time left to prepare the magic potion, so he heads to the shelves with the ingredients. The guy observes empty shelves in front of him. While he was busy activating the immersion, all the ingredients were sorted out. Hanshin understands that only poisonous plants and minerals with weak magical powers are available. The voice of Dissect is heard. He tells the guy not to waste time and start making poison, which can count as a useful potion for fighting monsters. Hanshin's gaze falls on the Dilipia bush. It can raise body temperature and even melt veins if consumed without processing. The guy comes up with a great idea. He is confident that even with poisonous ingredients, he can prepare a first-class potion. Hanshin takes a small bowl with his hands and quickly pours the necessary herbs and minerals into it. The guy is in a hurry. He pours the ingredients onto the table and casually throws the bowl aside. Hanshin looks carefully at the poisonous plants. He hears the voice of Dissect, who asks the guy to be careful. The main character concentrates mana energy in his hands and begins to perform magical manipulations. Hanshin believes that the other members' potions will be mere trifles compared to his masterpiece. The guy works with extreme caution with the potion, since just one drop can destroy 1,000 people. The participants are closely watched by the Master of Alchemy Rhine. His attention is attracted by Hanshin. Master Rhine sees that most of the participants are making ordinary restoration potions or simple medicines. Ronald is the undisputed leader in the competition. The guy makes a potion with a complex composition and a unique effect. Master Rhine notices that Hanshin does not use laboratory machines or complex devices. This greatly surprises the Rhine Master, since the participants are very limited in time. Hanshin intends to remove the excess poison and transfer the magical substance into purified water. Master Rhine watches as Hanshin attempts to remove the poison by hand. He is very surprised that the guy was able to separate the factions and enhance the effect of the plants. Master Rhine has never met students who have implemented this technology without the use of special equipment. A mistake can lead to the fact that the strength of the poison will increase many times. The Rhine Master realizes the threat and demands that the competition be stopped immediately. The audience reacts very emotionally when they learn that a potion of a unique class has appeared. The host announces that a student named Hanshin comes forward and takes first place. Hanshin met the deadline and created a unique elixir using a limited number of ingredients. Master Rhine cannot believe that an ordinary student could cope with such a difficult task. Ronald realizes that victory has slipped out of his hands. He cannot contain his emotions. The presenter's voice is heard, announcing that Hanshin is the winner of the alchemist competition. Ronald completely loses control of himself. He declares that a beginner cannot make a unique potion. He loudly declares that Hanshin broke the rules and cheated in making the potion. Ronald, in a fit of anger, demands that the guy immediately admit to fraud. Master Rhine demands that Ronald immediately stop his misbehavior and pull himself together. Ronald immediately lets the guy go because he doesn't dare contradict his father. Master Rhine is unhappy that his son is disgracing him with his disgusting behavior. Ronald tries to justify his actions and claims that Hanshin is a fraud. Master Rhine answers his son. He says that he is able to distinguish a fraudster from a normal alchemist. Rhine demands an immediate apology. Ronald asks Hanshin for forgiveness. The main character shows mercy. He forgives Ronald and says that he does not hold a grudge against him. Master Rhine thanks Hanshin for participating in the competition and admires the guy's abilities. Rhine wants to find out from the guy who taught him the unique techniques with which the elixir was prepared. Hanshin reports that he devoted a large amount of time to self-study. Master Rhine and his son are very surprised. They cannot believe that the guy was able to achieve such results on his own. The conversation is interrupted by the host of the competition. He asks Hanshin to go on stage. Master Rhine considers the guy a very promising young man. He tries to support Ronald and tells his son that he will definitely achieve great victories in the future. Ronald promises to study hard in order to take first place in the next competition. Hanshin takes the stage and the award ceremony begins. The Pomchun Academy teacher is pleased with his new student and gives him the championship cup. Hanshin is incredibly happy to receive the championship cup from the hands of his new teacher. The main character and his new teacher are sitting on the veranda of a cozy cafe. They are discussing the past alchemist competition. Pomchun is very surprised by the level of knowledge that the guy acquired through self-study. Hanshin informs his teacher that the reason for his participation in the competition is the magical mineral Bastium. The academy teacher knows nothing about the unique properties of the magical mineral. He tells the guy that it never ceases to amaze him. Pomchun asks Hanshin a question. He wants to know if the guy was in any guilds before becoming his student. The guy replies that he did not undergo any individual training and was not a member of any guild. Pomchun's voice is heard. He says that he does not understand why the guy needs Bastium. Hanshin reacts emotionally to his words. Pomchun carefully examines the magical mineral. He does not notice anything special and considers it an ordinary stone. The guy asks his new teacher to use the superhero gaze skill to realize the essence of Bastium. Pomchun doesn't take the guy's proposal seriously, but Hanshin manages to convince his new teacher. Pomchun activates his unique superhero gaze skill. He intends to obtain information about the mineral. Hanshin watches closely as his teacher dives into subtle information structures. Pomchun increases the amount of mana energy to penetrate the essence of the mineral. The academy teacher is very surprised that an ordinary-looking stone is a unique mineral capable of storing, enhancing, and concentrating mana. Hanshin is pleased that he finally managed to reach out to his teacher. Pomchun's voice is heard telling the guy that in the near future he will give the mineral to one of the masters. Hanshin is incredibly happy about this news. Pomchun suggests that the guy relax or meet with friends before training begins. Hanshin begins to remember his old friends with whom he studied at the academy. Pomchun says goodbye to the guy. He says that he will prepare an individual training program for him. Hanshin hasn't talked to his friends for 2 years. He takes out his phone to call them. The guy is looking through the list of contacts on his phone, and suddenly his old friend calls. Hanshin's old friend tries to call, but the guy doesn't pick up. Suddenly, the main character turns his head and sees that his old acquaintance is very close to him. The guys are sitting in a restaurant, remembering their studies together and having fun. An old friend's name is Khan. He is very surprised that they met near a cafe. Khan is a leader in the academy and has shown outstanding ability in all disciplines since joining. Hanshin is proud of his friend, as the guy has many talents, one of which is swordsmanship. Khan tells the guy that there was quite a commotion in his academic group chat when he said he was having lunch with Hanshin. Khan informs the guy that Yuna will soon join them. The girl expressed her desire to meet. Hanshin becomes very worried when he hears this news. Yuna helped the guy deal with problems at the academy. She was always on his side. Khan tells the guy that it was very difficult for Yuna when Hanshin stopped communicating. Khan says that the girl is already very close. They are separated by only a few blocks. Hanshin begins to feel the presence of Everton's energy. The energy belongs to the type of curse. The guy has a bad feeling and intends to free the girl from Everton's curse. Hanshin begins to feel the distortion of mana more and more. He asks his friend about it. The silhouette of a girl appears in the doorway of the cafe. She begins to move towards the table at which the guys are sitting. Yuna approaches the guys. She greets them and says that she is glad to see them. The guys look at the girl carefully. Hanshin clearly feels the impact of Everton's energy. The warm morning sun brightly illuminates the main building of the academy, and classes begin there. Hanshin slowly makes his way to the central library, deeply immersed in his thoughts. Near the stairs, a guy notices a group of students discussing the results of a written exam. Hanshin passes by the students. He accidentally slightly touches one of them. The guy immediately attacks Hanshin, accusing him of deliberately hitting him. Suddenly, the guy throws a sharp punch at Hanshin to knock him down. Hanshin didn't expect the kick. He loses his balance and falls down with a crash. A girl's loud voice is heard. She is very outraged by the behavior of the students. The girl demands that the students immediately apologize to the guy and think carefully about their behavior. Hanshin did not expect such a reaction from the girl. He is surprised by her determination and fearlessness. The girl is outraged by the disgusting behavior of the students. She considers it mean to discuss a person behind his back and do petty dirty tricks. One of the students is about to attack the girl, but his friends hold him back. The girl believes that the students will not have the courage to attack her, since she is the daughter of the director of the academy. Yuna asks the guy if he's okay and extends her hand to help him get to his feet. Hanshin slowly rises from the floor. The voice of a girl is heard, offering to have lunch together. Yuna tells the guy that he looks very strange and confused. Yuna and Khan are the best students at the academy. Hanshin is proud to have such friends. Hanshin was often bullied at the academy, but Yuna always came to the rescue in time and punished the offenders. Yuna maintained discipline. She punished offenders during sparring and practical lessons. Hanshin recalls that he still has not thanked the girl for her attitude towards him. Old friends are sitting at a table in a cozy cafe. They remember the old days. Khan tells the girl that she looks sickly and last time she looked better. Hanshin asks the girl if anything strange has happened to her in the near future. Yuna recalls one unusual incident that happened to her recently. The academy was preparing for a tour of the dungeons, and the girl was asked to help check the route. Yuna goes inside the new dungeon. She doesn't notice anything unusual. After some time, the girl finds an unusual stone, which is located in one of the caves. Yuna approaches the stone. There is a strange spot on it. The girl touches it. A strange substance comes into contact with the girl, and she is subjected to a powerful blow of unknown energy. Yuna looks at the stone in surprise. The bloody mark that was on it has disappeared without a trace. The girl hears the voices of professors. The teachers report that it is time to return. Yuna does not attach much importance to the incident. She quickly walks towards the exit of the cave. The guys were very interested in the girl's story. They believed that the incident was not a simple illusion. Hanshin looks at the girl carefully. He sees that her mana is in chaos and greatly distorted. Yuna asks the guys to stop scaring her. She says that she recently went to the doctor, who told her that she was fine. Hanshin intends to explain to the girl that she is in great danger. The guy is going to help the girl. He asks her permission in order to immerse himself in her mana. Yuna tells the guys that there is no reason to worry. She suggests changing the topic of conversation. Hanshin summons the immersion skill to penetrate the girl's mana. Yuna and Khan look at the guy in surprise, since he did not have such skills while studying at the academy. Khan senses the presence of the healing light and asks Hanshin about the state of the girl's mana. Hanshin understands that the demon worshippers, using the power of demons, cast a curse on the girl. The protagonist successfully activates the immersion, this time using the image of a minor priest he created in one of his novels. Hanshin's mana is temporarily transformed into divine energy, which he intends to use for healing. The guy begins magical manipulations. He is confident in his success, since the curse has not yet gained strength. Yuna gives her consent to penetration. Hanshin's voice is heard, asking her to be patient for a while. The main character structures divine energy and directs it to the girl's central energy meridian. Streams of divine energy envelop Yuna, creating a glowing aura around her. The energy that distorted the girl's mana has disappeared. Khan admires the guy's techniques. Hanshin says he is happy to help his old friends, who have done so much for him. Khan asks the guy how he was able to control the healing light, since he had no skills at the academy. He is very happy for the main character, since he now has awakened skills. Yuna is also sincerely happy for the guy. She knows that the lack of skills made Hanshin's past life unbearable. A girl's voice is heard asking Hanshin when he will return to the academy. The guy tells her that he has a personal teacher. Yuna and Khan want to immediately find out who the new teacher is. The guy replies that for now he cannot say who his new teacher is. Hanshin apologizes for not being in touch for a long time. He tells the guys that they are his best friends. Yuna tells the guy not to worry about it. She is happy to see that Hanshin is doing well. Khan asks the guy not to get lost in the future and to get in touch regularly. Hanshin is extremely happy to meet his friends after a long separation. A group of old friends are having a fun evening, reminiscing about the good times they spent together at the academy. Hanshin makes it home with difficulty. He crosses the threshold of his apartment and falls to the floor from fatigue. A virtual screen informs the guy that he is receiving a reward for lifting the curse from Yuna. The reward is information about Everton, which the guy plans to immediately study. A group of demon worshippers intends to raid the dungeons of the academy. The guy realizes that his friends are in mortal danger. He intends to inform the teacher about this. The virtual screen informs the guy that demon worshippers may find out about this and choose another place to attack. Hanshin believes that the responsibility for what is happening lies with him, since demon worshippers are characters in his novels. The main character is full of confidence that he will help his friends, but he does not have a clear plan. He looks at the huge gym with great interest. His attention turns to the workshop where high-tech armor and weapons are made. The guy is impressed by the interiors and equipment of the seemingly inconspicuous house. The Pomchun teacher asks the guy to share his impressions of what he saw. Hanshin appreciates the teacher's home, especially the 5th-generation virtual combat system. The guy can't even imagine how much it costs to equip his house with such systems. Pomchun tells the main character that he is a successful businessman who intends to recoup his investment. He approaches the table on which there is a small box and tells the guy that he has a gift for him. Pomchun throws the guy a box and tells him that he fulfilled the guy's request. Hanshin opens the package. The guy, fascinated, looks at the item inside. The craftsman very carefully processed the magical mineral bastium, making it into a unique amulet. Hanshin carefully examines the beautiful thing. With the help of the amulet, the guy will be able to change the shape of mana. The voice of Pomchun is heard, which suggests that the masters really wanted to buy the mineral from him. Hanshin informs the teacher that this is too valuable a mineral to sell. In addition, Bastium has already chosen its owner. Pomchun suggests stopping useless conversations and starting training immediately. The guy stands in the middle of the room. He thinks about what basic disciplines the master will teach. Hanshin decides whether he prefers hand-to-hand combat with a spear or proper use of mana. An incomprehensible sound distracts the guy from his thoughts. A virtual screen informs him that the air circulation in the room has been stopped. The floor under Hanshin's feet begins to emit a bright light. The guy does not understand what is happening. In the next room, teacher Pomchun is watching Hanshin. He thought for a long time about where to start teaching. The voice of the Pomchun teacher is heard, who says that a real superhero needs practical experience. The mana in the training room is forcibly polluted. It envelops the air and all objects in it. Sticky, defiled energy is trying to penetrate the guy and destroy him. Hanshin falls to the floor. The guy feels like he is in a swamp. He cannot move his body. Pomchun tells the guy to hold on, saying that he needs to get used to the pollution before going into the dungeon. With the help of a test, Pomchun's teacher wants to find out what skills the guy is hiding from him. The corrupted energy continues to paralyze Hanshin's muscles, making him unable to breathe. Pomchun is pleased with how Hanshin is resisting. The guy concentrated and stabilized his breathing. The dungeons of the magic towers have a unique ecosystem, which is a convenient environment for monsters. The air of the dungeons has a complex composition, and if a person dies in the dungeon, it leaves an energetic trail of fear and suffering that pollutes the dungeon. Hanshin resists the effects of pollution for 55 minutes. The guy remembers that the tower had automatic purification, so he had not encountered such energy before. Hanshin thinks that he will not be able to withstand the powerful impact only with his persistence. Pomchun sees that the guy's strength is running out. He hopes that Hanshin will soon show his hidden skills. The teacher fails to find out the guy's secret. Hanshin remains inside the training room for a long time without using his abilities. The main character believes that he can't take it anymore and says that he intends to use his unique abilities. Pomchun hears him clearly. The teacher reacts emotionally to the guy's words. Hanshin tells the teacher that he did not intend to use his unique skills. Pomchun's voice is heard, asking the guy why he hasn't used his skills for an hour. Hanshin laughs loudly. He saw through the teacher's plan and tells him that he should have just asked about the hidden skills. This makes Pomchun very irritated. He tells the guy that the tower dungeon is no joke. The main character hears Dissect's voice, which tells him that without his help, the guy would not have lasted even a minute. Dissect notices that after the test, the guy's superhero mana has improved a lot. Hanshin feels an extraordinary lightness in his body. The transformation of mana allows him to concentrate the energy ball. Pomchun has finally achieved his goal. He carefully watches how the guy uses his unique abilities. Hanshin is going to get rid of filth through a purification ritual. The guy is thinking about which hero from his novels he should use for immersion. Hanshin uses the minor priest to immerse. His mana is temporarily converted into divine energy. The skill is successfully activated. Hanshin is under the reliable protection of divine energy. The younger priest protects the guy. The sacred energy quickly heals his body. Teacher Pomchun believes that using this skill, the guy will soon lose consciousness. Pomchun is very surprised. The guy continues to remain conscious. Hanshin notices his teacher's reaction and asks why he is surprised. Pomchun can't take his eyes off the main character. He's never heard of this or seen anything like it. Having managed to hold out for more than 4 hours, the guy became very weak and lost consciousness. Teacher Pomchun is proud of his student. He believes that his potential exceeds the highest ranks. Pomchun begins to doubt that Hanshin is a person. The guy asks his teacher if he passed the test. Pomchun tells the main character that he greatly admires the way the guy uses his skills. The teacher comes down from the observation room. He goes to Hanshin and informs him that sword training will now begin. Hanshin is very surprised. The teacher did not give the guy time to rest and recover. Pomchun tells Hanshin that he will use his swordsmanship to its full potential. The guy is not good at sword art, so he asks the teacher to reconsider his decision. Over time, Hanshin notices that the rigorous training regimen gives good results. He has acquired excellent physical shape and feels good. The academy's management has planned a trip to the dungeon, which is located in the Tower of Light. Hanshin believes that students have nothing to worry about, as the squad will have security and high-level teachers. Lately, the guy has been training a lot, not only his body, but also his ability to control the flow of mana. Understanding alchemy also benefited the guy. He was able to organize a small business. Hanshin uses a mobile banking application. The guy made good money selling his mid-level magic potions. The main character visits a specialized store. He is interested in the artifact storage department. Swords of extremely rare rank attract his attention. but the amount of money earned is not enough to purchase an artifact. With the money received from the sale of potions, the guy purchased high-quality uniforms and weapons. Hanshin reflects on his life as a superhero. It is hard and dangerous, but has many pleasant moments. Suddenly, there is a phone call from Chun. The guy is alarmed by the fact that the teacher never called him at this time. Hanshin answers the call. The teacher tells the guy that he will be absent for a while, as he is going to go to the dungeon. The association asks teacher Chun for a favor. He goes to the dungeon as the general manager. Hanshin tells the teacher about his great desire to visit the dungeon. Chun refuses the guy, citing that this dungeon is very dangerous. Hanshin continues to beg the teacher to take him with him. The guy tells the Chun teacher that he is not currently a student at the academy, so he cannot visit the dungeon. Chun decides that the guy could use some experience and agrees to take him with him, provided that he doesn't leave his side. Hanshin is pleased with the teacher's decision. Chun's voice is heard from the phone, who says that this will be additional training, not entertainment. Hanshin is chatting with Yuna in a study chat. The girl is surprised that the guy will be present on the excursion to the dungeon. Hanshin and Yuna continue to chat. They are looking forward to the start of tomorrow. The voice of a demon worshipper is heard asking if the girl really fell into a trap. A mysterious demon worshipper reminds us of the importance of the upcoming operation. A man in a robe approaches the magic circle. The leader of the ritual asks him if everything is ready. The demon worshipper says he has prepared the seeds, and when people let their guard down, he will activate them. The leader of the ritual informs the stranger that if he fails the task, he will pay with his life. The demon worshippers begin their hellish ritual, and their ominous prayer is heard. The next morning comes. Hanshin arrives at the appointed meeting place. The guy wants to get into the dungeon so badly that he arrived at the meeting place earlier than the appointed time. With her touch, the girl distracts the guy from deep thoughts. Hanshin turns around sharply and sees Saren in front of him, in a great mood. The guy greets the girl and asks her what she is doing here. Their conversation is interrupted by Yuna and Khan approaching. They loudly greet the guys and say that they are glad to see them. Khan asks the guy a question about how he ended up on the excursion, because only full-time students have the opportunity to participate in the excursion. Hanshin informs the guys that this is the decision of his individual teacher. This surprises those around him. Suddenly, Saren's attention is attracted by an approaching man. The girl looks at him in fascination. The students are approached by teacher Chun, who is a very famous and respected teacher among the students. Hanshin's friends are thrilled that teacher Chun will be accompanying them. The main character doesn't want his friends to know that Chun is his new teacher. The guy is under a lot of stress. He doesn't want to be the center of attention. Teacher Chun is puzzled by the guy's reaction. He doesn't understand why he pretends like he doesn't know him. Hanshin invites his friends to meet his new teacher. Saren cannot contain her delight. She is incredibly happy that her friend is studying with the legendary teacher. Khan is very surprised that Hanshin hid the name of his new teacher. The excursion group enters an area called the Night of Screams. The students and the teachers accompanying them feel how the infected energy begins to suppress them. Khan tells Yuna that this dungeon is very different from her stories. Yuna has a strange feeling. She is going to tell the professors about this. The excursion group moves deeper into the zone. The voices of students are heard discussing the level of difficulty of the dungeon. Saren tells Hanshin that she is becoming very scared. She invites the guy to stick together. The excursion group included Hanukil, who still cannot come to terms with the fact that Hanshin is a student of the great teacher. Hanukil carefully watches Hanshin and his friends. He has a fierce hatred for the main character. Hanshin recalls which of his novels featured an area called the Night of Screams. A wild, loud roar is heard, which makes the guy terrified. The blood in his veins groans from the hellish sound. Hanshin senses a large number of strange creatures approaching the excursion group. Everyone in the group starts seeing them. Chun orders everyone to calm down and stay together. Students form a dense magic circle. They hear the voices of strange creatures who want to devour their internal organs. Hanshin realizes that he has little time. He frantically tries to remember the chapter of his novel in which strange creatures were described. The teachers draw their swords. They prepare to repel the attack of vile creatures. Hanshin recalls the chapter in which he described the Screaming Night Zone. He demands that teachers stop immediately. Chun looks closely at the main character. He wants to understand why the guy is trying to stop the teachers. Hanshin tells his teacher that under no circumstances should he attack vile creatures. The guy tells the teachers that vile creatures are a special type of evil spirits. Hanshin states that despite the terrible vile appearance of evil spirits, they will not harm anyone. Evil spirits are attracted by the warmth of people and the beating of their hearts. They surround students and teachers, but do not dare to attack them. Chun asks the main character how he is confident that evil spirits will not attack them. The voice of Hanshin is heard. The guy says that if you attack evil spirits, Then all the dead people in the forest will join them and will haunt them until their death. Hanshin tells his teacher that he read about this in ancient magic books. The guy is trying to stop the attack of one of the teachers. He does not intend to listen to a simple student. Pomchun uses the superhero look skill. He sees the truth in Hanshin's words. Pomchun invites teachers not to attack first. He asks them to build a defense and watch for evil spirits. The students are very surprised by the decision of the Pomchun teacher. They are not going to stand and wait until the evil spirits tear them apart. Hanukil expresses his dissatisfaction with Pomchun's decision. He doubts the adequacy of his decision. Pomchun answers the guy. He says that Hanukil will be able to give his instructions when he becomes a senior teacher. The teacher recommends that students pull themselves together and calm down. He made his decision based on extensive experience. The head of the sword department stands up for Hanukil, saying it's about the safety of the students. Evil creatures watch the conversation between students and teachers with great attention. The head of the ball handling department believes that there is no logic in Hanshin's version. He thinks that the guy acts out of fear. The main character says that he does not act out of fear and gives his reasons. The guy tells the students that if you save the monsters from grudges, you can clear the dungeon without harming anyone. The head of the department considers the guy a naive boy. He doesn't believe a single word he says. Pomchun tells everyone to calm down. He says that they did not come to the dungeon for senseless bloodshed. Teacher Pomchun insists that monsters cannot be attacked. He suggests finding an alternative option. Hanshin is pleased that he finally managed to convince the teachers not to attack the mysterious monsters. The head of the sword department does not intend to continue the conversation. He says that he will remain unconvinced. He believes that negotiating with monsters is a stupid idea and intends to resort to old proven methods. The head of the sword department rushes into a lightning attack on the monsters surrounding them. Hanshin notices his attack. The guy tries to stop him before it's too late. The head of the sword department delivers a series of sharp, slashing blows to the motionless monsters. The main character realizes what terrible consequences can occur due to his actions, and he is overcome with anxiety. Defeated monsters disappear, leaving behind an energy trail of dark energy. The head of the sword department states that he will never allow students to get hurt. Hanshin is very upset. He understands that he had to stop the teacher at any cost. Pomchun is not satisfied with the actions of the head of the department and declares that he is responsible for the situation. Hanukil says that inside the dungeon, you need to suspect everyone and be wary of other people's words. Pomchun believes that it is unacceptable to ignore orders and allow unauthorized actions. Hanshin sees that there is no time left for talking. He feels the difficulty level of the dungeon becoming more difficult. The state of the monsters in the dungeon changes. They begin to move and begin to make eerie screams. The students don't understand why Professor Pomchun wanted to avoid the fight. The girl notices that the fog surrounding them began to thicken strongly and approach them. Professor Pomchun asks Hanshin if he has any thoughts on the brewing problem. The guy answers him, saying that it is too late. The monsters of the dungeon have begun their transformation. Dungeon monsters intend to avenge their slain comrades. They are going to immediately destroy the aliens who disturbed their peace. All the souls of the forest begin to transform into more dangerous evil spirits. The students did not expect that an ordinary excursion into the dungeon would turn into a life-threatening adventure. The dungeon monsters have transformed into a more dangerous type of evil spirits. They are getting closer and closer to people. Moving up to a higher level, the dungeon monsters pose a serious threat. Hanukil begins to scream loudly. He is unable to control the wild horror that has paralyzed his body. Suddenly, the head of the sword department falls to his knees and is attacked by energy attacks from the monsters in the dungeon. He begins to choke and tries to call for help, but is only able to make loud wheezing sounds. Pomchun calls Saren to him. He asks the girl to take the head of the sword department to a safe distance. Teacher Pomchun believes that the creatures have turned into evil spirits, so it is necessary to engage in battle. The guy tells him that nothing will work out and asks him to settle everything on his own. Hanshin says that he knows this dungeon very well. He asks you to trust him. Pomchun says that they need to start doing something as the evil spirits have already started attacking them. Hanshin informs the teacher that any attempts at physical influence are ineffective, as this makes the monsters stronger opponents. Saren tries to take the head of the sword department to a safe distance. Khan is surrounded by evil spirits, and students try their best to help him. Hanshin thinks that his time has come. He needs to save his friends. Pomchun decides to trust the guy. He allows him to act on his own. The teacher gives the guy an illusion ring, which changes the wearer's appearance at the moment of applying mana. Even though Pomchun considers the guy a strong student, he is very worried about him. Hanshin is grateful to his teacher for his care. Despite the fact that the evil spirits have become stronger, he hopes to successfully complete the mission. The evil monsters of the dungeon used to be ordinary children. These are the souls of children who were abandoned by their parents and then died during the Great War. Many of them died completely alone, experiencing great need and deprivation. The souls of the children found their last refuge in the dungeon of the Sword Tower. The guy believes that it would be wrong to end everything with violence. He believes that the souls of children need peace. The guy performs an immersion on the temple servant, whose name is Michelle. After Michelle received revelation from the source of light, she saved countless souls filled with resentment. Hanshin previously delved into low-level priests. However, Michelle is a high-rank priestess. The guy hears a voice that tells him that the source of light wants to know who he is. Prina appears, who is a demigod angel who connects people and the source of light. Dissect is very surprised by Prina's appearance. The owner of the tower cannot understand what she is doing here. Prina performs the prayer of the light source. The dive should become easier for the guy. Hanshin successfully immerses himself in a character of medium complexity. The illusion ring creates the image of Michelle. The guy is in perfect sync with the hero of his novel. The entire space around is filled with divine energy. Pomchun admires the level of magic of his student. He senses the presence of a light source. The teacher remembers the training room. He thinks that it was this secret skill that Hanshin was hiding from him. The guy in the image of the priestess Michelle hovers over the battlefield, generating more and more divine energy. The evil spirits begin to retreat. The students notice that the reason for this is the golden shower. Priestess Michelle intends to give peace and quiet to the evil spirits of the dungeon. Saren casts her gaze into the sky. It is a mystery to her where the magical priestess came from. The golden shower becomes stronger. Michelle's voice is heard. She says that the children have become evil spirits through no fault of their own. In the novel Hanshin, it all ended with the annihilation of the souls of dead children. However, in reality, everything happened differently. The souls of children catch drops of golden rain and cry. Together with divine energy, the souls of dead children receive peace and tranquility. One by one, they begin to disappear, leaving behind only their tattered clothes. The main character hears a voice that says that the location called the Night of Screams has been cleared. Hanshin loses consciousness and falls to the ground. He used force beyond his body's capabilities. Pomchun sees that the guy used a huge amount of mana in a short period of time. Using huge amounts of divine energy always comes with side effects. Pomchun gives the command to immediately send the protagonist to the hospital and request the best means of recovery. Suddenly, the excursion group is attacked by dark energy, and huge black tentacles rush towards them. Pomchun notices the attacking opponents in time. He does not understand who it could be. While casting magic spells, a squad of demon worshippers slowly approaches from the darkness. The senior demon worshipper promises to leave everyone alive if they give him the 8th hero. Pomchun orders the students to take care of the guy while he deals with the attackers. The leader of the demon worshippers threatens to destroy everyone if his conditions are not met. Hanshin struggles to resist the dark energy that tries to infiltrate his mind. The main character regains consciousness. He hears a voice but cannot make out the words. Hanshin is still very weak. He focuses his gaze and sees his teacher in front of him. Teacher Pomchun asks the guy how he feels after sleeping for 3 days. Hanshin says that there is no need to worry about him. He is worried about the fate of the dungeon. Pomchun answers the guy. He says that some saint appeared and sorted everything out. The teacher praises the guy. He believes that Hanshin showed himself well in yesterday's battle. Pomchun says that if a guy uses his skills carelessly, he will most likely die young. The teacher tells the guy that he has bad news for him. Hanshin asks what news. He thinks that something happened to his friends. Pomchun did not know that the boy's parents were not aware of his expulsion from the academy and accidentally told them about it. Hanshin was very upset by this news. He did not want his parents to know that he had dropped out of the academy. The main character's parents live in a cozy house in a small village on the outskirts of the country. Hanshin has not visited his parents for more than 2 years. He does not dare to open the door and go into the house. The guy remembers how incredibly emotional and touching the farewell moments were before he left for the academy. Hanshin's mother is incredibly happy to see her son, while the father looks at the guy with displeasure. The voice of Hanshin's mother is heard telling him to wash his hands and sit down at the table. The guy believes that the best food in the world is the one his mother prepared. Hanshin's mom is happy that the guy has a great appetite and offers him dessert. The father tells the guy that he is aware that he did not extend his academic leave and left the academy. To the boy's surprise, his father supports his desire to explore dungeons and become a superhero. Hanshin's mom tells him that 2 months ago a new dungeon appeared near their house. The guy is very surprised by this news, since exactly 2 months ago his stories disappeared from the computer. Hanshin believes that the appearance of a new tower and the disappearance of files from the hard drive are interconnected. The guy is in the forest near his parents' house. He intends to find the entrance to a magical dungeon. Hanshin boosts his mana and uses his detection skill to find the entrance. The guy receives a large amount of information. The radiation radius of the new dungeon exceeds 1 kilometer. After some time, the main character finds the entrance to a magical dungeon. He is surprised by the terrible appearance, which does not correspond to a low-level dungeon. The forensic department of the Superhero Association is located in the business district of a large city. A pathologist takes the body of an unknown man out of the refrigerator. Pomchun and the pathologist carefully examine the body removed from the refrigerator. The Pomchun teacher has no information about the man other than the mark on his chest. He remembers the words of the leader of the demon worshippers, who spoke about the 8th superhero. Dissect watches Hanshin, wondering why the guy is taking so long to enter a low-difficulty dungeon. Hanshin thinks about whether he needs to warn the association about the emergence of a new dungeon. The guy clearly hears the voice of the hero of his novel, which was used for immersion. Until this point, Hanshin thought he could only communicate telepathically with Dissect. He decides not to report the dungeon to the association, intending to deal with it himself. A loud phone ringing wakes up the main character. The guy doesn't want to wake up and ignores the call. He puts his phone on silent and tries to fall back into deep sleep. Hanshin jumps out of bed with a sharp movement. He does not understand what he is doing here. The last thing he can remember is entering a new dungeon. He looks at his desk with academic spreadsheets and coursework, realizing that he has returned to the past. The Path of Choice location, which is located in the new dungeon, has the ability to travel to the past. Hanshin is at the training ground of the academy he attended 2 years ago. The guy moves into the university building. He stands on the balcony and watches the battle between two guys. The main character watches as the defeated fighter falls from the balcony to the first floor. A strong energy release occurs, which disorients Hanshin for several seconds. The main character understands that he is watching himself. This really impresses the guy. Hanukil tells Hanshin that he is a worthless weakling who is not capable of anything. The main character is very upset that he gave up and stopped resisting. Hanshin wonders why the magical dungeon is showing him this. Hanukil's friends who are nearby insult and mock the guy. They talk about how they get rewards for beating up the worthless parasite. Hanshin hears a voice telling him that he has many absences and unsatisfactory grades in his subjects. The main character thought that studying at the academy would be a cakewalk for him. The guy hears a voice that says that the dungeon has noticed his fear and imitates the person he was afraid of in the past. Hanukil says he is honored to go up against the student who did best in the written exam. The new dungeon recreated a life situation from the past in small details. Hanshin understands that he has recently become more experienced and stronger, but he is not confident in defeating the best student at the academy. The dark and sticky energy of fear envelops the space around the main character. Hanshin tries to calm down. He realizes that this is just an illusion created by the dungeon. The guy believes that this time he will win, since he has recently become much stronger. Hanukil pounces on the guy. He raises a huge sword in order to strike. Hanshin has difficulty blocking an opponent's blow. Hanukil has excellent sword technique. Hanukil is very surprised that the guy was able to repel his attack. He had not previously noticed such skill in him. Hanshin tells his opponent that he is stupid for always landing his first blow to the head. The main character believes that the time has come to teach the offender a lesson. He activates the immersion skill. Hanshin fails to activate the skill and tries again, which fails again. The guy hears a voice that tells him that the use of the diving skill is currently prohibited. Taking advantage of the situation, Hanukil launches a powerful kick, which Hanshin is unable to block. The guy flies to the side and hits the staircase railing hard. Hanukil uses his sword to deliver his signature blow called the tornado. He follows up his successful attack with a punch called Cobra Throw. Hanukil calls his opponent a non-entity and a pathetic parasite, unworthy of studying at the academy. He says that the guy's place is in the city garbage dump and not among the students of the academy. Dissect doesn't understand what's going on with the guy. He notices that Hanshin doesn't look like himself. Dissect is outraged that the main character allowed himself to be beaten by a disgusting guy. Hanukil continues to beat the guy. Hanshin begins to realize how pathetic he is without his unique skill. Dissect tells Hanshin that he is ashamed of him. He did not expect the guy to give up so quickly. The voice of Dissect, the owner of the tower, is heard, who wants to see the guy who escaped death in his tower. Dissect is very surprised by the guy's behavior. He assumes that this is part of a cunning plan. Hanshin thinks about how he spent his whole life adapting to what was happening and hating himself for it. So he created the image of Dissect in his stories, which never gives up. With thoughts that all his life he wanted to become like Dissect, the main character tries to get back on his feet. Hanukil is surprised by the guy's behavior. He thought that Hanshin would lie at his feet and beg for mercy. Hanshin tells his opponent that he needs to wait a little and it will be over soon. Hanukil asks the guy what he is talking about. He thinks that his opponent went with his head. Hanukil intends to practice a couple of new techniques on the main character. He misses a strong blow, as he did not expect Hanshin's fierce counterattack. The guy was able not only to come to his senses, but also concentrated a sufficient amount of energy for protection. Dissect is pleased with Hanshin's actions, saying that the guy never ceases to amaze him. Hanshin feels that he is now on the right path. He has finally managed to overcome his fear. Hanukil insults the guy with the last words, his mind filled with uncontrollable rage. He prepares for the attack and tells the guy that he will beg for mercy. Hanshin is unable to track his opponent as Hanukil uses a fast-running technique. Hanukil moves around the guy very quickly and hits him with impunity. The force of the blows is so enormous that Hanshin is thrown several meters towards the staircase railing. Hanukil revels in his advantage. He understands that the guy's skills are not enough to repel his blows. Hanshin cannot understand where his opponent is at the moment. Hanukil sneaks up from behind. He intends to deliver his signature blow, taking advantage of the fact that the guy does not see him. Hanshin uses an academic skill called detection and deflects the enemy's strike. Hanukil is thrown back. He doesn't understand how his skill can't work against a weak opponent. Hanukil screams loudly and in impotent anger rushes into another attack on Hanshin. The main character realizes that now he is not the weak and intimidated guy he was 2 years ago. Time has slowed down greatly. The main character looks at his opponent, who is very slowly approaching him. Hanshin deftly deflects Hanukil's blow, his opponent sensing high-level energy. With a deft movement, Hanshin delivers a strong slash. He was able to defeat his old enemy. Hanukil loses the fight. He screams loudly and falls to the floor, struck by a strong blow. Hanshin looks carefully at the defeated Hanukil. The guy realizes that he has defeated his old enemy, which was his fear. Hanukil is in a state of severe shock. He does not understand where the guy has such enormous power. Hanshin informs his opponent that the secret of his strength lies in the absence of fear. The main character is at the bus stop with his parents, who are seeing him off. The guy is very pleased that he visited his parents and cleared out the new dungeon. Hanshin returns to the city. His parents say goodbye to him, hoping that their son will come to visit more often. For clearing a new dungeon, Hanshin receives his own lost novel as a reward. The guy plunges into his past literary works with great interest. Yuna, a girl, approaches him and asks why the guy is looking at the black screen of his laptop. The guy is very surprised by the presence of a girl nearby. He asks her what she is doing here. Yuna answers the guy. She tells him that she left the academy to start individual training. Hanshin takes a negative view of the girl's decision to leave the academy. Their conversation is interrupted by Khan. He enters the room and greets the guys. The girl is glad that now they can all study together and become superheroes in the future. Yuna tells the guy that the teacher allowed them to use the rooms for training. Hanshin tells the girl that Pomchun doesn't like being called a teacher. He asks to be called a master. Hanshin asks the guys where Master Pomchun is now. The teacher is sitting at the table in his office. They report to him that they caught a spy who was drawing a magic circle. Pomchun is surprised by the large number of demon worshippers. They have become more active lately. There are too many magic circles appearing in the city. Pomchun does not consider this a small cult that can be ignored. The teacher recalls that on the body of the destroyed demon worshipper, there was the same symbol as on the numerous magic circles found throughout the city. Pomchun learns that after the appearance of the new 7 towers, more and more people are associated with the devil. Hanshin heads to the artifact store. He intends to spend some money earned from selling the potion. He is stopped by a stranger who calls the guy by name. The stranger congratulates Hanshin on awakening his magical skills. He hands him a business card and asks him to consider a job offer in the analytics department. The stranger's name is Chan. He is the head of the recruitment department of the Heavenly Palace Guild. Mr. Chan informs the guy that he knows about his intention to obtain a superhero license. The guy answers Mr. Chan. He says that he needs time to think about the offer. Dissect's voice is heard wondering why Mr. Chan is trying to hire Hanshin. Mr. Chan is very upset. He used all his unique skills to scan the guy, but he failed. He's annoyed that he couldn't even scan the guy's general mana stats. Mr. Chan is worried about the energy coming from Hanshin. It is very similar to the energy of the 7 great superheroes. He intends not to retreat and in the future to get as close to the guy as possible, no matter what the cost. Hanshin is in the shopping center. He feels the presence of Everton's evil energy. The guy wants to find out what the vile demon worshippers are up to. He is going to use the detection skill. Along with the increase in mana, Hanshin's detection skill effect has increased, and he has the ability to sense magical vibrations from a great distance. The guy systematically scans the shopping center floor by floor. After some time, Hanshin discovers a magic circle of demon worshippers, which is located in the fire shield. The guy realizes that the magic mark belongs to demon worshippers. The voice of Dissect is heard, who asks the guy how he can know this. From his stories, the guy knows that the magic circle can only be destroyed with holy water. Fortunately, he has a magical bracelet that allows him to teleport the necessary items. Priestess Michelle taught Hanshin how to make holy water without the need for immersion. The guy sprinkles the magic sign with holy water, after which it disappears. Hanshin decides to conduct a deeper scan to see if there are still magic circles of demon worshippers nearby. The guy's mana allows him to sharpen his senses. He finds a large number of magic circles located nearby. Hanshin is shocked by the number of magical signs that demon worshippers manage to install. The demon worshippers find out that the guy is erasing their magic circles. They intend to stop him. The cult follower at the head of the table proposes to eliminate the 8th hero before it is too late. Demon worshippers remember how easily the guy removed the first seed using divine power. Ordinary servants of the evil cult say that so far, they have not been able to get closer to the guy. One of the demon worshippers reports that he has a cunning plan. He intends to deal with the guy in the near future. The servant of the evil cult believes that the guy will not be able to eliminate all the magic circles alone. However, he orders not to relax, since the evil seed is under threat. Hanshin decides that he needs to find all the evil seeds as soon as possible and destroy them. To summon a demon, you need magic circles and a curse seed. If the seeds are sown in a person, the victim's body will turn into a demon. Hanshin understands that he cannot cope with such a difficult task alone. He intends to ask the master for help. The guy feels a familiar, energetic vibration. He turns away from his phone and looks at the entrance to the coffee shop. Hanshin sees his old friend Saren. The girl tells the guy that she is glad to see him. The guy asks the girl how she found out that he was here. Saren says that she was just passing by and saw him sitting at a table through the window. Suddenly, Hanshin senses a change in Saren's mana. He tries to perform a deep scan. The guy believes that the girl was subjected to evil influence and carries a curse, the same as Yuna had. The guy asks the girl to give him her hand so that he can scan it properly. Saren offers her hand to the guy. She is slowly enveloped by the divine energy emanating from Hanshin. Suddenly, the girl screams loudly and sharply pulls her hand back. She cannot withstand the impact of divine energy. Hanshin is very worried about the girl's reaction to the divine energy. The guy discovers an evil seed in the girl's body, which was implanted into her by demon worshippers. Hanshin learns that the seed has not yet attached to Saren's mana core, so he still has time. The guy thinks about where the penetration could have happened. He decides that it happened during an excursion to the dungeon. Hanshin intends to remove the evil seed as quickly as possible before it begins to transform the girl's body into a demon. He asks Saren to be patient for a while and begins to concentrate divine energy. The girl does not understand what is happening. She asks the guy what he is going to do. Hanshin feels that he has concentrated enough divine energy and is about to perform the dive. A mysterious stranger appears in the room and tells the guy that all his attempts are in vain. Hanshin does not have time to complete the dive. He turns around and looks attentively at the stranger. A strong explosion is heard. The shockwave breaks the glass display cases of the cafeteria. A large number of small glasses fly around the premises, injuring visitors. Dissect's voice is heard asking the guy if he's okay. There is a demon standing in the middle of the room. He is unhappy that the guy is again trying to interfere with the demon worshippers. He tells the guy that the time has come for him to die, and raises his huge paw to strike. The demon's huge paw approaches the guy. Hanshin is surprised by the demon's quick reaction. Suddenly, Master Pomchun appears and blocks the fatal blow intended for the guy. Hanshin is happy to be saved and is impressed by his teacher's speed and strength. Master Pomchun sends a curse to the demon. He says that no one dares to touch his student. Hanshin asks his teacher how he ended up here, to which Pomchun replies that he sensed a change in the balance of energy. Pomchun asks the guy to hide in a safe place while he deals with the demon. The demon watches Master Pomchun and his student carefully, emitting a quiet, sinister laugh from time to time. The hellish creature says that his task has become a little more complicated, since now he will have to destroy his teacher along with the guy. Master Pomchun understands that the fight will be difficult, since this demon is of a high level. Apostle Amel decides to introduce himself and says that he is a servant of Satan. Master Pomchun answers him. He says that the demon is an ordinary crazy fanatic. Apostle Amel asks not to compare him with ordinary priests of the cult of evil. Hanshin senses that magic circles of demon worshippers have begun to activate throughout the city. Master Pomchun also senses a change in energy balance. The guy is very worried that he did not have time to deactivate the seeds of evil. Suddenly he realizes that Saren, who was next to him all the time, has disappeared without a trace. Hanshin turns around. He doesn't find the girl and doesn't understand where she could have gone. Dark energy enveloped the girl's body and enclosed her in a huge energy cocoon. Apostle Amel tells the guy that demons love human fear most of all. He tells the guy that he can't even imagine how great human fear tastes. More than 1,000 magic signs of demon worshippers were activated throughout the city. A little boy sees energy flows of evil energy rising into the sky. He asks his mother what is happening. Passers-by stop and watch with interest as the city is enveloped in meridians of evil energy. The city is gradually plunging into darkness. It is covered by a dome of dark energy. One of the passers-by tells others that he sees a huge portal in the sky. Infected energy begins to envelop people. It penetrates their unprotected souls. The souls of people with a small amount of mana undergo terrible transformations. A huge portal located in the sky begins to suck in the transformed souls of people. Hanshin realizes that if Seren's body begins to absorb transformed souls, she will become a demon. The guy realizes that he needs to get rid of the seed that is in the girl's body as quickly as possible. Apostle Amel says that no one has the power to stop the running process. He reports that soon the world will be visited by a demon with enormous power. Master Pomchun demands that the demon immediately shut up. He believes that the creature of hell is bluffing. Apostle Amel tells the master to prepare for his imminent painful death. He lets out a loud roar and launches a furious attack on Master Pomchun. The master repels the blow of the Apostle Amel and blocks his huge claw. Pomchun generates a huge protective energy vortex around itself, which throws the Amel Apostle aside. The guy decides to take advantage of the moment and make his way to Seren to extract the hellish seed. Hanshin begins to feel a disgusting smell that fills the entire space around. He hears loud footsteps coming from the cocoon of dark energy next to him. A disgusting demon appears in front of the guy. The air around is filled with the smell of decaying bodies. Hanshin recalls that the appearance of the demon completely repeats the description of his novel. The main character is upset that he did not have time to save Seren. She turned into a disgusting demon. The demon who took the girl's body stands motionless next to the guy and looks at him carefully. Hanshin asks Seren if she is still conscious and if she recognizes him. For a moment, it seemed to the guy that the girl answered him in the affirmative. However, a moment later, Hanshin hears the voice of a demon who asks the guy who he is. The guy remembers that the metallic voice of the demon is exactly the same as he described in his novel. In his story, there was no way in which one could save a person who had reincarnated as a demon. Hanshin intends to destroy the demon that has taken over Seren's body, as it is capable of killing many people. The guy has a very hard time making this decision. He intends to dive. The demon sees a change in the energy balance and senses a threat emanating from the guy. Hanshin performs the dive. He uses the divine power of the priestess Michelle to exorcise the demon. The demon is destructively affected by divine power and a magical prayer pronounced by the priestess Michelle. A magical spell destroys the demon. Divine power spreads throughout his entire body. The guy understands that Seren will also die along with the destruction of the demon. Hanshin asks the girl for forgiveness. The main character is greatly worried by the fact that, despite the strong influence of divine energy, the demon is still alive. The demon looks at the guy with hatred and demands to know what he did to him. Jumping high into the air, the demon moves towards the guy to destroy him. The movement of time has slowed down greatly. The guy sees the demon's paw approaching him and realizes that the divine curse did not work. Master Pomchun notices a large explosion behind him and wonders where his students are. The master examines the surrounding space. He cannot find Seren and Hanshin. Apostle Amel is offended that Master Pomchun turns away from him during the fight and demands that he return to the fight immediately. Pomchun attacks the Apostle Amel. He needs to finish him quickly in order to get to his students. The demon that has captured Seren's body approaches the main character lying on the ground. Hanshin feels angry with himself. He did everything he could but did not achieve results. A huge portal in the sky continues to absorb the transformed souls of people. Hanshin believes that the main mistake he made was writing his novel. The guy suffers greatly because he could not help Seren in time. He hopes for a miracle and asks her to return. Pomchun looks at the demon carefully. Despite the fact that the girl's soul should have been completely destroyed during the transformation, the guy feels the presence of Seren. The main character understands that, despite the fact that the girl is in great pain and scared, she continues to resist. Seren is in captivity of a huge energy cocoon. It is very difficult for her to breathe. The girl does not understand where she is. The last thing she remembers is how a stranger attacked her in a cafe. Seren tries to remember something after being attacked by a stranger, but all her attempts are to no avail. The girl's thoughts are interrupted by loud sounds. She realizes that these are the cries of people calling for help. Huge glass cages contain a large number of captive people. They scream loudly and call for help. Seren intends to help the unfortunate captives. She tries to answer them, but realizes that she cannot speak. The girl watches as a huge, ugly claw approaches the cages with prisoners. The claw grabs defenseless people. The prisoners scream loudly and try to free themselves from the grip. Seren uses his unique Ice World skill to block the ugly claw. The ice transforms into huge pillars that stretch high up. The girl's magic is interrupted by an unexpected blow, which completely paralyzes her. Seren feels how she falls into a huge funnel and falls down endlessly. The girl comes to her senses. She has a huge wound on her back after a strong energy blow. She frantically tries to put her thoughts in order. She urgently needs to help the unfortunate prisoners. A huge biomechanical claw is approaching Saren. The girl has practically no strength left to resist. Some unknown force reflects the attack of the claw. Saren does not understand how the blow was reflected. The girl sees the silhouette of a man in front of her and hears a painfully familiar voice asking her to come back. She recognizes Hanshin's voice. The guy persistently asks her to resist. The girl extends her hand towards him. Saren feels great pain and fear. She is unable to contain her emotions. Tears flow down her face. The girl reports that she is cold and scared here, and that there are many people in captivity nearby whom she is unable to help alone. When Saren became a demon, her soul would have been completely destroyed, but she is still conscious. A huge number of captive souls of people are suffering and asking for help. Hanshin remembers his novel. He realizes that there was nothing similar in his book. Suddenly, the guy understands the reason for Saren's soul's resilience. He remembers that he gave her a piece of divine energy in the cafe. A particle of divine power remains in the girl's body, and the guy's constant blows to the demon awaken Saren's consciousness. Hanshin has a chance to save the girl. He intends to dive into the hero of his book under the name of the exorcist Michael. The guy fails to perform the dive because there is not enough mana for this. The demon rejoices at the guy's failure and tells him that he is a crooked loser. Hanshin's heart is filled with anger, and at the most necessary moments he turns out to be powerless. Suddenly, one of the 7 superheroes transfers his magical power to Hanshin. The guy feels that his mana has been restored. He begins the process of immersing himself in the exorcist Michael. A loud prayer is heard, calling on the evil spirit to submit in the name of the Lord and leave the girl's body. A concentrated beam of divine energy penetrates the demon's body. The demon emits an inhuman scream, and clots of dark energy begin to gush from the wound on his chest. Clots of dark energy take the form of a huge film strip. Hanshin realizes that the film depicts memories from Saren's past life, and they gradually absorb the guy. The main character finds himself in the prison of the soul, which is located in the mind of Saren. The oppressive silence is broken by a barely audible moan from a girl, coming from somewhere around the corner. The guy follows the sound and eventually finds Saren. The girl is captured by huge claws. He runs to the girl and in a loud voice demands that she wake up immediately. Saren regains consciousness. She is very exhausted and cannot resist. The claw begins to lift Saren into the portal. Hanshin rushes towards the girl. He asks her to grab her hand. With the last of her strength, the girl extends her hand to the guy. Hanshin runs up to perform the jump. He manages to jump to the girl and grab her hand. Particles of divine energy penetrate her body. Saren feels a huge surge of divine energy. Her consciousness begins to free itself from the magical influence of demons. The girl casts off the witchcraft spell and emerges from the demonic body. The demon screams heart-rendingly. He curses the guy and tells him that his revenge will be merciless. Saren is completely freed from the demonic body. She loses consciousness and falls unconscious to the ground. Hanshin is incredibly happy that his plan worked. Now the captive souls have returned to the bodies of people. The guy runs up to the girl. He checks her pulse and sighs with relief. Saren is still alive. While the guy was busy with the girl, the demon transformed into a huge, ugly ball. The demon approaches Hanshin. He demands that the guy immediately return his body to him. The hellish creature opens its huge mouth. It roars loudly and rushes at the guy. A bright light blinds Hanshin, and a strong explosion blows the disgusting monster into small pieces. The guy comes to his senses after the explosion. He tries to figure out who could help him. Hanshin realizes that Yuna has come to his aid. The girl asks the guy if he is okay. Yuna is very glad that she made it on time. Hanshin's voice is heard, who sincerely thanks the girl. Hanshin asks Yuna how she was able to find him here. Yuna replies that she saw people's souls gathering and ran after them. The girl sees Saren lying unconscious next to her and asks what happened to her. Hanshin sees that the demon was able to recover from the destruction and sneaks up on Yuna. He shouts to warn the girl about this. Yuna turns sharply towards the monster and using her splitting skill sends an energy beam at it, which cuts the demon in half. The girl says that she was scared for a second and completely lost control of the situation. In a short time, the monster is restored. Yuna wonders why the creature did not die. Hanshin says that the monster is restored with the help of mana. In order to defeat it, you need a force that will exceed its recovery speed. Teacher Pomchun continues the fight with the Apostle of Satan Amol. A demon crawls up to Apostle Amol. He loudly clatters his teeth and demands a new body. Apostle Amol calls the demon a stupid animal. He demands that he immediately get out and not interfere with the fight. Pomchun watches as the demon attacks Amol's apostle and devours him. The demon begins to quickly change. Master Pomchun is surprised at the speed of transformation. In a matter of minutes, the demon turned into a huge 20-meter ugly monster. Pomchun is not going to stand on ceremony with the demon for long. He transforms his mana into a type of lightning, which is inherited from the god of thunder. The demon taunts the teacher. He says that Pomchun can use his lightning type to scare his students. Pomchun, by changing his mana, generates a spear of lightning and directs it at the demon. Hanshin watches his teacher's battle closely. The guy thinks that Pomchun is great. The huge demon devours the energy of the lightning spear. It did not harm him, but only made him stronger. The demon says that he liked the nourishing mana of Master Pomchun, and besides it, he intends to absorb the bodies of his opponents. Pomchun notices that the demon's body is becoming unstable and begins to self-destruct. Hanshin sees that the master's power has worked. He decides to add burst mana. The guy calls Yuna over and asks the girl to use her most powerful fire spell. Hanshin hopes that his plan will destroy the demon. He asks the girl to attack on his command. Yuna performs the great fire ritual. A fiery pentagram appears around her. Hanshin's voice is heard. The guy asks the girl to take her time and wait for his command. Yuna is ready to attack and is waiting for Hanshin's signal. The main character performs a dive into the exorcist Michael. Hanshin activates the power harmony skill, which is the best skill to use together with the remnants of divine power. Using these skills is extremely dangerous, as there is a high chance that Hanshin may die after doing so. The guy realizes that the right moment has come to attack. He gives the command to Yuna. The girl tells the guy that she is completely ready to attack and demands that Master Pomchun step aside. Master Pomchun is surprised by the students' magical rituals, however. He submits to their demands and steps aside. Yuna brings down a huge stream of sacred fire on the demon. The monster begins to scream heart-rendingly. At this time, Hanshin directs a stream of divine energy at the monster, enhanced by the cleansing prayer of the exorcist Michael. The lighting ritual takes place. The girl is very surprised. She has never seen such a skill in action. The wild roar of the hellish monster is heard. It is consumed by a huge pillar of divine fire. Master Pomchun is pleased with the result. The seed of the curse has been purified, and the demon's mind has been destroyed. Pomchun remembers that the guy has very poor control of his mana. He thinks that this time the guy went too far with his strength. Master Pomchun is trying to quickly find Hanshin in order to provide him with first aid. Suddenly, Hanshin appears in front of him. The guy asks the master how he can help him. Master Pomchun runs up to the guy. He is surprised that Hanshin is fine and asks if he is injured. Not even a minute has passed before the guy begins to feel bad. He does not understand what is happening to him. Master Pomchun and Yuna are very surprised and worried about Hanshin's transformation. Dissect watched the battle carefully, surprised that Hanshin was able to combine mana and divine power. Previously, Dissect had only observed the use of this technique by the angel demigod Prina. Dissect never thought that Hanshin would be able to turn a demon back into a human. He believes that Hanshin will soon die because the guy used a power that exceeded his limits. Dissect mentally says goodbye to the guy. He believes that Hanshin was a good person. Dissect jumps up from his throne. He sees Hanshin alive and unharmed. The guy does not understand how this could happen. He turns to the demigod angel Prina and asks her why she saved Hanshin. Prina's voice is heard. She says that Hanshin is a promising student, and besides, she likes him. Dissect takes Prina's words without much joy and offers to see how Hanshin behaves on the second floor of the tower. Prina tells Dissect that Hanshin passed the first floor of the tower, which was considered impassable. The angel demigod Prina considers Hanshin to be a very capable and gifted student. Dissect is deep in thought, wondering what the future holds for Hanshin. The master of the Dissect Sword Tower invites Hanshin to the second floor of the magic tower. The boy finds a piece of burnt bread on the street and tells his sister that they will have lunch today. The children share the burnt bread. They are incredibly happy that today they will not go to bed hungry. A bright light illuminates the surrounding area. This greatly frightens the children. They scream loudly. The children look in surprise at the young man who appeared from a bright flash of light. Hanshin looks around in surprise. He doesn't understand where he ended up. The guy is in a poor quarter of a hidden small village in the mountains. The virtual screen informs the guy that he is invited to the second floor of the tower in a location called the ghetto. The children are frightened by Hanshin's sudden appearance and ask him who he is and what he is doing here. Hanshin knows that the boy's name is Jack. He invented this character in one of his novels. Jack thinks Hanshin is a wizard. He tries to find a common language with the guy and offers him water. Hanshin takes the water with pleasure as the guy is very thirsty. The guy gets mild poisoning. The flask contained tea made from fermented moss, which Hanshin did not like. Hanshin realizes that the children are very hungry. He uses his magic bracelet to teleport food. Hungry children, burning their hands, greedily eat the food offered by the guy. Hanshin looks at a piece of burnt bread. He understands that the children's life is full of need and suffering. The main character asks the children who they live with. The children answer that there are 3 of them. Their sister Pablo has gone on business. Jack's sister's name is Lena. She asks Hanshin why he is interested in their family. The guy tells Lena that she shouldn't worry as he won't cause any harm to their family. Jack asks Hanshin where he is going. The guy replies that he needs to go away for 5 minutes. Hanshin thanks Dissect for inviting him to the 2nd floor of the tower, but the guy does not want to be in this location and asks permission to leave. Dissect does not answer the guy, which irritates Hanshin very much. He does not want to stay in the ghetto and demands to be released. The virtual screen informs the guy that if he wants to leave the location, he must go through the 2nd floor. This news upsets Hanshin. He worries about his friends and wants to return quickly. The guy cannot contain his emotions. He thinks that he will greatly upset his friends and acquaintances with his unexpected disappearance. Hanshin does not immediately notice that he is surrounded by a group of strangers. They are silently watching the guy. The silence is interrupted by the voice of a stranger. He asks the guy who he is and what he is doing here. The stranger says that Hanshin looks like a stranger. He asks what the guy has to do with children. Hanshin carefully examines those around him. He understands that they are aggressive and could kill him. The guy invites strangers to calm down and not take rash actions. People are very aggressive. They demand that Hanshin shut up. Shouts are heard from the crowd that the guy is a monster. Lena approaches the guy. She is very worried about what is happening and asks Hanshin if he is okay. A crowd of strangers believes that the girl is a monster and the man is trying to attack her. Lena is very scared. The girl screams loudly and asks to leave her alone. Hanshin stands up for the girl, pushing the attacker aside with an elbow strike. At the same instant, a crowd armed with bladed weapons attacks the guy. Hanshin once again invites everyone to calm down and discuss the current situation. The guy hears a voice that tells him that he must complete a mission so as not to be stuck in this location forever. The girl cries loudly. She asks the guy to protect her and her brother from the aggressive crowd. Hanshin believes that Dissect gave him a very difficult and strange test. The guy is deeply immersed in his thoughts. At that moment, an empty glass bottle flies into his head. Lena rushes to the guy. Screams of the crowd are heard. People offer to immediately destroy the monsters. The aggressive grandmother is stopped by an unknown girl. She holds her hand and demands to immediately stop the lynching. Dissect carefully watches what is happening. He is surprised by the reaction of the unfamiliar girl. A stranger stops an aggressive crowd. She demands to leave the children and the alien alone. Hanshin wonders who this girl is and why she is helping him. This location and such a character were not in the guy's stories. The girl's name is Pablo. She explains to the angry crowd that the children and the alien were not involved in the past murders. Hanshin thanks the girl for her help. He considers her a kind and noble person. The guy asks the girl to tell her about herself. Pablo says that she works as a blacksmith and looks after the children after they are left alone. Pablo tells the guy that not long ago, many people died when they stayed in Jack and Lena's house. The girl says that the suspects could not be found. There were only mountains of corpses and 2 children in the house. Pablo remembers that a guy named Dissect used to live with the children. She thinks that he did it. Dissect listens carefully to the girl. He says that she is talking nonsense and becomes furious at her words. Hanshin calls Dissect a psycho. The guy demands to immediately release him from this location. Pablo tells the guy that she needs to go. She asks him to calm the children down and look after them. Hanshin's voice is heard asking Dissect to explain to him in detail what is happening. The guy believes that there was a misunderstanding. He thinks that Dissect was not involved in the deaths. Dissect does not answer the guy. Hanshin decides that the owner of the tower is ignoring him. Dissect begins his story. He says that he used to live with Jack and Lena. In the past, Dissect traveled a lot. One day he ended up in a children's house. Dissect quickly found a common language with the children, and after a while they became a real family. Hanshin thinks about why Pablo suspects Dissect of committing the murders. Dissect can't understand why Pablo suspects him. He's never seen the girl before. Dissect remembers the words of the demigod angel Prina. She said that Hanshin passed the floor of insurmountable difficulty. He clearly remembers the moment when Hanshin found a magical plant, the existence of which ordinary people do not know. Dissect has many unanswered questions, and it remains a mystery to him who Hanshin is. The next morning comes, the bright sun illuminates the town, lost in the mountains. Hanshin did not sleep almost all night. He was visited by disturbing thoughts that he could not get rid of. Dissect is a fictional character from Hanshin novels. The guy himself invented a difficult life for him, because of which the owner of the tower suffered. The guy's thoughts are interrupted by Lena. The girl asks the guy if everything is okay with him. Lena thanks the guy for saving her yesterday. Hanshin informs her that he will leave their house for a while, as he needs to take a little walk. The girl does not want to let the guy go. She thinks that Hanshin will leave them forever. Hanshin calms the girl down. He says that he will definitely come back. He just needs to get some fresh air. The guy uses his bracelet and feeds the children enough of the teleported food. On the threshold of the house, he meets Pobble. She asks the guy where he is going. Hanshin looks closely at the basket of spoiled food in Pobble's hands. The guy says that she does not need to feed the children such food, since the nutrition problem was solved with the help of his magic bracelet. Hanshin asks the girl to look after the children while he is away. The guy heads towards the exit. He hears Pobble's voice. She asks him to be extremely careful. Hanshin uses a magical bracelet to teleport his work laptop. The guy thinks that something is wrong with Dissect. He doesn't say a lot and has been very irritated lately. Hanshin decides to find the reason for Dissect's strange behavior in his novels. A guy and a girl are in the forest. They are fleeing from their pursuers. The girl screams loudly. She trips over a stone lying in her path and falls to the ground. The girl cannot get to her feet and continue running, as she has severely injured her leg. The young Dissect understands that the dislocation is very serious and the girl cannot move further on her own. The girl's name is Emily. She and Dissect are watching as demon worshippers try to find them. Dissect doesn't know what to do. They need to run, but Emily can't move on her own. Emily asks her brother to leave her and save himself. Dissect says that he will never leave his sister. Emily insists that the guy leave her and save his life, otherwise they will both die. Dissect demands the girl to shut up. He tells her that they will fight for their lives to the end. The guy decides to carry Emily on himself to the nearest shelter, where they can hide from the demon worshippers. Dissect's attention is attracted by a sharp, piercing whistle, and the guy instantly turns around. A huge energy wave knocks Dissect off his feet, causing him to lose his balance and fall to the ground. In the place where Emily was located, there is a huge rectangular stone on which a magic sign is inscribed. The guy repeats his sister's name nonstop. He cannot believe that she is dead. Dissect stands in front of a huge rock, and the voices of demon worshippers can be heard from nearby bushes. Tears well up in the guy's eyes. He asks Emily for forgiveness for not being able to protect her. Dissect runs through a huge city bazaar, holding a loaf of stolen bread in his teeth. The guy is trying to hide from his pursuers as quickly as possible. Screams and curses are heard behind him. A group of men block Dissect's escape route. The guy realizes that he is trapped. Dissect rushes forward. With deft movements, he dodges grabs. The guy laughs loudly. He invites his pursuers to punish him if they can catch up with him. Dissect suddenly finds a tall metal fence in front of him, and he loudly curses it. The guy sees that his pursuers are approaching him. They say that they will now punish the vile rat. Dissect has no intention of giving up, pushing off hard from the ground to jump over the fence. Using a giant leap, the guy manages to grab the top of the fence. People around him are surprised by Dissect's physical characteristics. They can't believe that the guy was able to jump so high. Dissect considers his pursuers to be very greedy creatures. He only stole one loaf of bread from them. Suddenly, a huge hand grabs Dissect by the neck and begins to choke the guy. A huge man holds the guy tightly. He says that now Dissect will find out how they treat thieves. The huge man spins the guy around and throws him down with all his might. Dissect falls to the ground. The guy realizes that due to the strong blow, he lost the ability to move. The people who were pursuing the guy begin preventive work. They explain to Dissect that stealing is bad. A girl passing by is attracted by a loud noise. She intends to come closer to find out what's going on. The girl approaches Dissect and demands those present to immediately stop beating. The guy loses consciousness. The last thing he sees is a girl trying to talk to him. Dissect experiences severe pain all over his body. He opens his eyes and sees many children gathered around him. The guy is trying to understand where he is. The voices of children are heard asking him about who he is and how he feels. Dissect sits up on the bed. He asks where he is. The children tell him that this is a shelter of hope. The girl's name is Martha. She carries a cup of hot soup and tells Dissect that she is glad to see him. Dissect does not allow the girl to finish. He hits the tray of food with all his might. An oppressive silence falls in the room. Those around them did not expect such an outburst from Dissect. The guy shouts loudly at Martha. He says that he knows her insidious plans and calls the girl a witch. The orphanage pupils demand the guy to shut up immediately. They are unpleasant to hear that he compares Martha with followers of evil. The kids call Dissect an ungrateful asshole and plan to teach him a lesson. The guy calls the orphanage children stupid. He says that Martha is deceiving them for her own selfish interests. Martha looks at the guy's prank with emotion. She believes that the reason for such a reaction is trauma received in the past. The girl tells Dissect to calm down. She says that she has nothing to do with Everton followers. Dissect's voice is heard. The guy asks why the girl brought him here. His question makes the children and Martha laugh. The guy cannot cope with his irritation. He does not understand why the orphanage pupils laugh at him. Martha leads Dissect to a training ground where the orphans are practicing their sword skills. Dissect is surprised by the presence of a training ground in an inconspicuous shelter. The orphans train to challenge Everton and take revenge on the demon followers. In addition to wielding a sword on the training ground, They practice working with energy fields. Martha says every child in the orphanage is a victim of Everton. Dissect remembers the moment when Emily died. He perfectly understands their desire for revenge. The guy tells Martha that she is crazy. He doubts that the children will be able to resist the demon worshippers. Martha tells the guy that they have no choice, because if they don't confront Everton, sooner or later evil will consume everyone. The girl believes that the orphanage students should be strong and be able to stand up for themselves. Martha knows that Dissect is secretly training with a sword. The guy wonders how the girl knew about it. The owner of the shelter asks the guy to look at his hands, which have calluses after long training. Martha invites Dissect to join the orphanage students to train together. Dissect says that he doesn't know Martha and her students at all, and he has a life principle of not trusting strangers. The guy leaves the training ground. On the way to the main building, he meets an unfamiliar girl. The girl intends to meet the guy. She tells Dissect that she knows his name. The guy invites the girl to find another interlocutor since he is going to leave the shelter. The girl is extremely perplexed. She does not understand the reasons why Dissect wants to leave them. The orphanage student offers the guy something to eat before leaving, and a girl's voice is heard saying that Dissect doesn't deserve lunch. Dissect looks closely at the appetizing food. He realizes that he is very hungry. The guy intends to resist to the last. He believes that he will not be bought for food. The orphanage children come into the dining room. They are glad that Dissect has returned to them. The girl's name is Rose. She sits at the table opposite Dissect and tells the guy that he has no shame or conscience. The guy silently listens to the girl. Rose says that Dissect comes to the shelter every day just to eat and has never even washed the dishes after himself. Dissect gets a bad feeling and starts looking around. Rose does not understand the reason for the guy's concern. The girl asks Dissect why he is tense and distracted from the conversation. A stranger peers through the window and carefully watches Dissect and Rose talk. The guy notices that the glass on the dining room window is covered with numerous cracks. A strong explosion occurs, scattering objects and people throughout the room. The room fills with acrid smoke. Dissect lies on the floor, trying to recover from the explosion. The guy is severely stunned by the explosion. He notices how a particle of life force flies past him. The particle flutters gracefully in the air, moving towards the doors. She approaches the jar of magical seeds, and a moment later the seeds consume her. The demon worshipper scolds his subordinate. He is unhappy that the force of the explosion was calculated incorrectly. Dissect believes that now is the time to quietly leave. He regrets coming to the shelter. The guy notices Rose lying next to him. She had no chance of surviving, since the epicenter of the explosion was next to the girl. Dissect is overcome with intense rage. He realizes that during the explosion, the girl covered him with her body. The guy remembers the death of his sister, who also died in his place. Demon worshippers collect particles of the life force of dead people to feed them with magical seeds. One of the servants of evil notices Dissect. He says that the guy will be a valuable test subject. The head of the demon worshipping squad gives the order to immediately seize the guy. A voice is heard that orders to protect Dissect. An energy shield is formed around the guy. Dissect admires the orphan's skills in blocking the demon worshipper's attack with an energy shield. One of the orphans tells the guy not to be afraid, as he is safe. The orphans of the orphanage, having withstood the first blow, are preparing for a decisive counterattack. The senior demon worshipper understands that it was in this orphanage that a large number of gifted children were concentrated. He orders the most active orphans to be destroyed and the rest to be captured for experiments. The girl sends a huge swarm of magical blades at the demon worshippers. The attack of the magical blades should push back the demon worshippers, after which the orphans will be able to expand the energy shield. The guy understands the girl's plan. He begins to expand the energy barrier. The protective shield is being expanded, making it possible to temporarily protect orphans. Dissect admires the tenacity and fearlessness with which ordinary children resist Everton's minions. Demon worshippers use magical pentagrams with which they bombard orphans with charges of dark energy. The girl manages to dodge the first charges of dark energy flying at her, but the next wave overtakes her. Struck by dark energy, she falls to the ground. The girl dies defending her shelter. The commander of a detachment of demon worshippers orders the immediate destruction of the protective energy screen. His subordinates begin to monotonously and rhythmically strike the protective screen. A strong crack is heard. The protective energy screen is covered with small cracks. Dissect watches in horror as the protective shield begins to collapse. The demon worshipper orders them to stop resisting and kneel, in which case he promises to leave the orphans alive. A huge amount of dark energy gathers around the protective shield. Dissect understands that after the destruction of the protection, this dark energy will pour inside. The pupil reassures Dissect. He tells the guy that the individual capsule is very strong, and he has nothing to be afraid of. Dissect worries about all the other children in the orphanage. He doesn't understand why they want to save him. Dissect suggests placing someone else in the individual capsule. The pupil says that the capsule is too small for this. The guy tells the orphanage pupil that he is no better than others. In response, the pupil smiles mysteriously. The demon worshippers destroy the protective energy shield and destroy all the defenders of the shelter. Anger and impotent rage fill Dissect. He survived, but could not help the orphans. The demon worshipper stands in front of Dissect and loudly sends a curse. He is unable to destroy the individual capsule. Martha bursts into the room. She looks at the broken room. Her eyes fill with rage. The owner of the orphanage, Martha, and Dissect are at the cemetery, laying flowers on the graves of the students who died in battle. Dissect asks Rose for forgiveness. The guy can't come to terms with the fact that he couldn't protect the girl. Martha tells Dissect that he continues to live thanks to Rose. The owner of the shelter asks the guy not to torment himself. She says that he needs to continue to live. Martha's voice is heard. She asks the guy to become stronger in order to defeat evil forces in the future. The owner of the orphanage believes that the evil will end with the fall of the demonic castle. Martha invites Dissect to unite and take revenge on the demon worshippers together. Dissect uses a pocket knife to craft a wooden practice sword. He spends many hours in complete solitude perfecting his sword technique. Over time, Dissect's skills improve, and he manages to imbue his training sword with mana. The guy's blows become sharper and stronger. He tries to cut down a large tree. The survivors of the orphanage watch Dissect's training with interest. The kids see Dissect breaking his training swords as he tries to cut down a huge tree over and over again. The orphanage student believes that Dissect could become bad if he continues to use so much mana. Dissect feels like his legs can't support him at all. He begins to suffocate and experience severe dizziness. The guy comes to his senses. He jumps out of bed and cannot remember how he ended up here. Dissect realizes that he lost consciousness again, and the orphanage children helped him, because they helped him again. The guy feels awkward. Martha appears on the threshold. She is very pleased with how Dissect is recovering. The voice of an orphanage student is heard saying that Dissect resembles someone, but he cannot remember who exactly. The student who cared for the guy says that Dissect is similar to Emily. A nervous tremor runs through Dissect's body. The pupil says that Emily appeared at the orphanage a month before him. He hands the guy a photo of Emily. Dissect saw his sister crushed by a huge rock, so he thinks it's just a person with a similar name. Dissect can't believe his eyes. In the photo, he sees his sister sitting in a wheelchair. He grabs the guy by the shoulders and demands to immediately tell him where Emily is. Dissect continues to shake the guy by the shoulders. He tells him that Emily is his sister. The orphanage student tries to find the right words to respond to Dissect. Martha tells the guy that she has bad news. She tells Dissect that his sister died a month ago. Upon hearing this information, Dissect is speechless and falls into a psychological stupor. Martha says that when they found Emily, the girl was crushed under a huge rock. Emily was brought to the shelter and given first aid, but the necrosis spread very quickly. Dissect realizes that when he abandoned Emily and ran for his life, the girl was still alive. The guy realizes that he left his sister to die. He cannot forgive himself for this. It's raining heavily. Dissect quickly runs through the night forest towards the city cemetery. The guy finds his sister's grave. He asks her forgiveness for leaving her to die. Dissect hears Emily's voice. She tells him that she knew he would come. The morning sun brightly illuminates the city cemetery. The guy sat motionless all night near his sister's grave. Dissect returns to the shelter. He asks the owner of the shelter, Martha, to help him. Martha calms the guy down and asks him how she can help him. Dissect intends to avenge his sister. He asks Martha to teach him how to use mana. The guy is training hard. He intends to destroy all Everton followers. Dissect is aware of the fact that he has too little mana. Intensive training does not help much with this. The guy asks Martha how to increase the amount of mana. The owner of the shelter asks the guy to give her his hand. Dissect asks about what is happening to him. Martha asks the guy to remain calm and not make sudden movements. Using magical techniques, Martha measures the guy's maximum mana limits. Martha tells Dissect that each person has their own limit on how much mana they can use. The owner of the shelter continues to immerse herself in subtle energy structures. Martha is very surprised by the information she received. She senses a very rare anomaly. Dissect observes Martha's reaction. He asks her if everything is so bad with his mana limits. Martha realizes that Dissect's energy channels are blocked from the flow of mana. She tells the guy that his flow of mana is completely blocked, so it cannot circulate. Dissect asks Martha a question, wondering how much mana he has and what needs to be done to unlock it. Martha informs the guy that his mana limit is very high. It is 1,000 times more than that of an ordinary person. Dissect can't believe that he has such a huge amount of mana. He just needs to unlock it. The guy asks Martha to help him unblock the energy channels as quickly as possible to free mana. Martha tells the guy that blocking the energy channels saves his life, since releasing such a huge amount of mana can lead to death. She tells the guy that he needs to develop mana slowly. He needs to become stronger in order to master all mana. Dissect realizes his enormous potential, which greatly motivates him to continue learning. After 5 years of training, Dissect is able to cut down a century-old tree with one blow. By the age of 17, the guy has excellent sword technique and the ability to control his mana. Martha tells the guy that the years of training were not in vain. Dissect will soon be ready to complete the mission. The owner of the orphanage asks Dissect to demonstrate his sword skills. Dissect strikes a large tree with his sword, and along with the tree, the guy cuts the rock in half, which is located behind him. The young inmates of the orphanage are shocked by Dissect's sword skills. The guy releases the sword from his hands. He is mentally and physically ready to complete the mission. The owner of the orphanage, Martha, asks all her pupils to come to her. She takes out a magic card and begins to discuss the plan for completing the mission with the students. The demonic castle of Everton is located in the inaccessible mountains, in the very center of the continent. Demon worshippers are scattered throughout the world. They collect the souls of people and place them in magical seeds. Everton's followers sacrifice seeds to a tree in hell that blooms once every 10 years. Their goal is to awaken the great demon. The owner of the orphanage, Martha, and her team intend to stop the demon worshippers from doing this. Martha says that it is necessary to destroy all the magical seeds before the tree begins to bloom. Dissect is thinking about how to distribute different regions of the continent among the mission participants. The guy chooses the most dangerous and difficult parts of the continent, which are the south and north. The orphanage students doubt that Dissect will be able to master 2 directions at once. Dissect is confident in his abilities. He proposes to hold a general gathering at the demonic castle in 1 year. The guy systematically destroys the hellish seeds and followers of Everton in his directions. Dissect approaches the destroyed demon worshipper and removes a magical seed from his bag. He destroys the last magical seed that was in the city. The guy is going to continue his path to the next city. He intends to finish clearing the regions earlier than planned. At the city market, Dissect sells the horse captured in the previous battle and receives a good sum for it. A little girl stops Dissect walking past her. The guy looks at her carefully. A girl sells flowers at the city market. She asks a guy to buy at least 1 flower from her. The girl reminds Dissect of his dead sister. The guy is going to please her. Dissect decides to buy all the flowers she has from the little girl. The girl is very grateful to the generous client. She shyly tells Dissect that the flowers, unfortunately, have withered a little. The guy answers her. He says that this is not a big problem for him. Suddenly, a frisky boy runs up to Dissect. He snatches the wallet from the guy's hands and tries to hide. Dissect calls the boy a petty scoundrel and demands that the stolen wallet be returned immediately. The guy intends to catch up with a petty thief and asks the girl to look after a basket of flowers. Dissect turns to the girl who sold him the flowers. He is surprised to find that she has run away. The guy understands that this was part of a cunning plan. The girl and the petty thief are committing fraud together. Lena and her brother are emptying Dissect's wallet as they rejoice over today's big catch. The children's joy quickly fades as Lena hears the voice of Dissect, who was able to track them down and find them. Lena and Jack look at Dissect. The guy is extremely dissatisfied with their criminal behavior. With a deft movement, the guy jumps off the ceiling. He intends to teach the petty swindlers a lesson. Dissect grabs Jack and tells him that he will raise him with the belt. Lena plaintively asks the guy to forgive them. She says that this will never happen again. The girl tells a plaintive story. They need money for medicine for their sick mother. Dissect doesn't really believe Lena's words. He offers to take him to his sick mother to make sure Lena's story is true. The children lead Dissect to a large house where he sees an old sick woman lying on a bed in a room. Lena tells the guy that they have no relatives at all, and only she and her brother can help their sick mother. Dissect begins to loudly scold the girl and her brother as he sees that the woman is too old and cannot be the mother of children. Jack realizes that the cunning plan did not work. He tells his sister that he warned about this. Lena promises Dissect to return his money, but only on the condition that he leaves some portion to the children. The guy is trying to dissuade children from engaging in criminal activities, offering them to earn money through honest work. Lena believes that she and her brother will not be able to earn money with their work due to their childhood. Dissect realizes that it will be very difficult for him to convince children to stop their criminal activities. Lena says that she has no choice. This is the only way she can feed herself and her brother. Dissect looks at the children and remembers his sister, who died at the hands of demon worshippers. The guy believes that if children have an honest source of income, they will stop stealing. Dissect tells Lena that if her brother is caught by evil people, they will punish him severely for stealing. Lena demands to immediately stop intimidating her. She says that she will not hurt her brother. The guy believes that he has some free time to try to help street children. Lena and Jack live on the outskirts of the city. Their house is a miserable, dilapidated shack. The next morning comes. Dissect enters the children's room and tells them that it is time to get up. The children ask to take a nap for a few more minutes. They say that they are very tired and it is too early. Dissect begins to teach children sword skills, which is very difficult for them. The guy comes into the orphan's house and asks the children how they are doing. He says that he brought a lot of food. Seeing that the children are not sleeping and are enthusiastically busy with something, he asks what they are doing. Jack tells the guy that he and his sister decided to clean up the place while Dissect was away. The guy praises the children for their useful work and tells them that it's time for breakfast. Lena says that she is very hungry. She asks the guy to quickly set the table. Dissect goes to the kitchen and asks the kids to wait a little, as he needs time to prepare breakfast. Under the children's bed is a well-hidden jar of magic seeds. Dissect tells the children that he is going to the city market. They ask him to bring them something tasty. First of all, the guy goes to the blacksmith's workshop, where his combat sword was restored. The blacksmiths tell the guy that his sword is ready. Dissect thanks the craftsman for the quality work done. The guy realizes that the blade guard has become much more convenient. The blacksmith's assistant Pavel looks at the guy with envy. The weather is quickly deteriorating. The guy is very cold. He is trying to get home as quickly as possible. The guy enters the house. Jack runs past him at high speed towards the exit. The guy senses something is wrong. He stops the boy and carefully examines him. Dissect notices that Jack's hands are heavily stained with blood. Jack hides his hands behind his back. Dissect asks the boy why his hands are bleeding. The guy intends to enter the room. Jack screams loudly. He asks Dissect not to do this. What he saw greatly shocked the guy. Lena was standing in the middle of the room, with dead people lying around her. The guy asks the girl what is happening here. He sees a jar of magic seeds standing on the table. Dissect asks Lena to step aside. He asks what the Everton seed jar is doing here. Suddenly, the girl stabs Dissect with her hand, which has turned into a metal blade. The guy dodges the deadly attack and throws the girl aside with a kick. Dissect asks Jack where they got Everton's magic seeds. The boy replies that he knows nothing about it. Lena continues to attack the guy with her hand turned into a sword. The guy repels her blows and asks Jack to leave immediately. Dissect manages to knock Lena off her feet and demands an explanation from her about what's going on here. The guy asks what the girl has to do with Everton's seeds and how the jar with them ended up in their house. Dissect does not want to believe that children can be followers of demon worshippers. Jack sneaks up on the guy from behind and stabs the unsuspecting Dissect. The guy gets seriously wounded. He asks the boy why he did it. Dissect is trying to understand when the evil forces of Everton were able to take control of Jack and Lena. He remembers that before lunch, everything was fine with the children. Jack continues his attack, swinging his sword-shaped arm as he approaches Dissect. The guy dodges numerous slashing and stabbing blows from the boy, who in addition to a deadly weapon has also acquired enormous strength. Dissect believes that he needs to be stopped since many people could get hurt, and he strikes Jack with his sword. Jack skillfully uses his arm, which has turned into a metal blade, to block Dissect's blow. The guy looks at the orphans. He comes up with a version that the children are followers of Everton and have deceived him from the very beginning. Dissect believes he must destroy the werewolf children immediately and swings his sword to deliver the killing blow. The orphans ask Dissect in plaintive voices to spare them and let them live. The guy looks at Lena and Jack, remembering how much time he spent with them in this house. Dissect gave the orphans all the care and love that was intended for his dead sister. The guy's hands are shaking. He clearly understands that he cannot destroy the orphans. Dissect leaves the room and demands that Lena and Jack never pick up weapons. Otherwise, he will destroy them next time. The guy approaches the table on which there is a jar of magic seeds and strikes it with a sword. The wounded Dissect lies in the forest. He believes that he did the right thing by leaving Lena and Jack alive. The guy loses consciousness. He is found and saved by the angel demigod Prina and the exorcist Michael. Hanshin is deeply immersed in his thoughts. He thinks that his novels usually did not end so darkly and tragically. The mission of the second floor of the magic tower is to get rid of the ghetto tumor. Dissect believes that this tumor is Lena and Jack. He demands that Hanshin destroy them. Hanshin has not noticed any changes or transformations in the orphans recently. The guy believes that no one controls the minds of orphans, and they are completely no different from ordinary children. Hanshin hears the voices of people. They discuss their plan to attack the orphanage. He tries to quietly approach them in order to overhear the conversation more clearly. The townspeople are going to get rid of the demons tonight, and some of those present ask what they should do with the new guy. Someone quietly approached Hanshin and put a huge knife to his throat. Hanshin intended to leave but was noticed and stopped by a townsman named Greek. The townsman intends to destroy the guy. He attacks him using his huge knife. Hanshin manages to dodge and jump to the side. Greek considers Hanshin a demon. He is going to deal with the guy as quickly as possible. Hanshin realizes that the second group of townspeople are most likely already in the orphanage, and he intends to rescue them. Lena shields her brother from an aggressive group of townspeople who have entered the house and surrounded them. The townspeople call Hanshin a follower of demons. The guy tries to calm and convince the attackers. Hanshin believes that he has very little time left. He plans to use the indecision of the townspeople to escape. The guy rushes as fast as he can to the exit. Greek orders the townspeople not to let the guy out of the house under any circumstances. Taking advantage of his speed advantage, Hanshin deftly dodges the townspeople's blows and makes his way to the exit. Dissect is impressed by how persistently the guy tries to save the orphans. Hanshin rushes with all his might to the orphanage. He hopes that he is not late. The guy runs into the house and observes a terrible picture in front of him. The entire room is littered with the corpses of murdered townspeople. In the corner of the room, he finds Lena and Jack crying and shaking with fear. Using a virtual screen, Hanshin tries to contact Dissect. He does not believe that the children did this. Dissect blames himself for everything. He believes that he should have destroyed the werewolf orphans. The owner of the tower, Dissect, asks Hanshin to destroy the werewolf orphans, to which the guy responds with a categorical refusal. Hanshin runs up to Lena and her brother. He hugs the orphans tightly and tries to calm them down. The guy understands that werewolf children commit their terrible deeds in an unconscious state and don't remember anything after that. Hanshin tells the orphans that he will help them get rid of the hellish spell. He suggests leaving the house as soon as possible before anyone comes. The guy hears a loud, piercing scream and turns sharply towards the door. At the entrance, there is an elderly woman who is joined by a group of armed townspeople. Hanshin takes a fighting stance and asks the children to move back to a safe distance. The approaching townspeople are heard cursing, and they have a strong hatred for the werewolf children. The guy is trying to convince the people around him, telling them that the children are victims of Everton. Such a statement infuriates people. They see a huge number of corpses right in front of them. The angry crowd slowly approaches Hanshin, who is standing in the corner with orphans hiding behind him. Hanshin uses his magic bracelet on his arm to teleport the weapon. A huge battle pole appears in the guy's hands, with the help of which he intends to clear the path to retreat. The guy tells Lena and her brother to stick together and follow him. Reinforcements approach the townspeople and they launch a furious attack on Hanshin and the werewolf children. The guy skillfully uses a fighting pole. With deft movements, he clears the way for retreat. A moment later, all the attackers were lying unconscious on the ground. The guy did not use deadly equipment, so all the townspeople remained alive. The elderly woman grabs Hanshin by the clothes and asks the guy why they are doing this to them. While the guy was talking with the elderly woman, one of the attackers returned to consciousness. He intends to finish what he started. Hanshin rushes to help the orphans. He blocks the blow of the townsman. The guy uses his fighting pole, with which he quickly eliminates the threat. Hanshin orders the children not to waste time and run to the exit, but Jack does not want to leave the house. The guy tries to find out the reasons why Jack doesn't want to leave. He learns that the boy misses Dissect a lot and hopes for his return. Hanshin thinks that escaping will not solve anything. He wants to explain to the townspeople that the children were under the influence of evil forces. Using his magic bracelet, Hanshin teleports a bottle of holy water. Dissect is carefully watching the guy from his tower. He doesn't understand why the guy teleported the holy water. Suddenly, one of the townspeople sneaks up on Hanshin and stabs him in the back. A townsman asks Hanshin why he and the orphans killed all the people. Lena transforms. Her hand turns into a steel blade with which she strikes the townsman. Greek runs into the room, accompanied by his squad. Hanshin warns them of the danger and asks them to leave before it's too late. Lena and her brother look attentively at the townspeople, their hands turned into war steel blades. The guy believes that it is necessary to use holy water as quickly as possible before the werewolf children kill all the townspeople. Lena, at great speed, rushes towards a group of townspeople standing at the entrance. Hanshin does not allow the girl to commit a terrible thing. He catches up with her and throws her aside with a blow from his fighting pole. The guy stands opposite the girl, trying to understand what forces have taken control of the minds of the orphans. Hanshin hears Dissect's voice, which demands that the guy not ignore his instructions and immediately destroy the werewolf children. The guy is trying to find a way out and save the orphans. He takes a bottle of holy water in his hand and approaches Lena. At the last moment, Hanshin notices Jack trying to attack him from behind. The guy throws a bottle of holy water at him. He believes that with its help, he can free the orphans from mind control. When hit in the head, the bottle breaks and holy water falls on Jack's body. The werewolf boy stops his attack. He screams loudly. Hanshin sees dark energy starting to come out of him. Lena is not going to accept defeat and attacks Hanshin. The guy teleports another bottle of holy water from his magic bracelet. He dodges Lena's blows and at the same time pours holy water on her. The girl stops her attack. At the same moment, a stone flies into her head. Angry townspeople throw stones and improvised objects at the werewolf children. Hanshin demands that they stop this immediately. Holy water has a strong effect on werewolf children. They sit on the floor and scream loudly. After a few minutes, mind control worms begin to emerge from the werewolf children. With their help, the demon followers controlled their minds. The townspeople are shocked by what is happening as they watch the mind control worms crawl out of the children. Hanshin knows that worms cannot act without a host. He must be somewhere nearby. A man appears on the threshold. The mind control worms that have come out rush towards him. Hanshin knows that Dissect is closely watching him. He wants the owner of the tower to see the real source of evil. The mind control worms crawled up to their master and jumped into his arms. Pobble is standing on the threshold. She is the mistress of the parasites that until recently controlled the minds of children. Using a magical bracelet, Hanshin teleports a bottle of holy water to heal his wound. The guy intends to deal with Pobble as soon as possible. He hears the voice of Dissect, who is surprised by the true cause of the problem. Pobble begins to kill nearby townspeople. She develops a strong hatred for those around her, especially Hanshin, who figured out her secret. Approaching the guy, Pobble tells him that he has no idea how much time and effort she has invested in the werewolf children. Uttering angry words and curses, Pobble systematically destroys nearby townspeople. The surviving townspeople leave the cursed house. Pobble stands opposite the main character. Hanshin demands that she immediately leave the children alone. Pobble calls them to her. She tells the guy that he doesn't even know who the children really are. Hanshin is surprised by this information. Pobble says that children are not really people. She says that Lena and Jack are doubles, monsters that can turn into anything. Pobble's voice is heard. She says that the guy protects monsters in human form. The girl tells Hanshin that the monsters transformed into their current form after eating the corpses of children. Hanshin orders Lena and Jack not to listen to Pobble. He says that she is lying. Lena cannot contain her emotions. She does not want to come to terms with the fact that she is a monster. The girl says that children are ordinary monsters and attacks Hanshin. The guy deftly dodges a series of blows that Pobble inflicts on him. The girl says that in fact, she should be thanked for the great work she has done. Pobble, walking through the night slums of her city, often came across the corpses of dead people. One day, she found an incredibly valuable and useful thing from a dead man. It was Everton's magic crystal. Hanshin demands the girl to shut up immediately. He strikes her with a blow that knocks her aside. Pobble asks the guy a question. She is interested in why he so desperately protects some monsters. Hanshin asks the children not to listen to the girl and to move away to a safe distance. The demigod angel Prina was unable to destroy Everton's magic crystal. This is completely inconsistent with the plot of the novel that Hanshin wrote. With the help of a magic crystal, entities penetrate the person who owns it and enslave his mind. Pobble rushes at the main character. She says that she will destroy him and feed his lifeless body to the demons. Hanshin uses his battle pole as he frantically fends off Pobble's attacks as Dissect's voice is heard cheering him on. The guy demands from Pobble not to treat children as objects that she uses to realize her selfish interests. Hanshin uses the dive skill. This time he selects the Spearmaster, whose name is Roma. The guy's dexterity of movements significantly improves, as well as his striking power and connection with the spear. Pobble, with the help of Everton's magic crystal, has gained the ability to disarm. She intends to use it in battle. Any weapon that touches her during a duel is immediately destroyed. The Pobble ability only has no effect on the Dissect sword, but the main character physically cannot dive into it. Hanshin has only one way to defeat Pobble. He needs to use the magical lightning power of the spearman Roma. The guy notices that during the fight, Pobble's aura changed. It is able to reflect lightning strikes from the spear. Hanshin finds a way out of this situation. He delivers a series of kicks that the opponent is unable to parry. Pobble falls to the floor. She realizes that the guy is able to predict her movements. The guy activates the magical power of lightning to maximum power, intending to defeat Pobble in hand-to-hand combat. Hanshin delivers an effective series of blows to Pobble. The girl cannot resist his furious onslaught and the force of lightning. Pobble tells the guy that the result of the fight will not change anything. The werewolf monsters will remain what they are. The girl claims that werewolf children are just a tool to achieve great goals. Hanshin understands the desires that feed the Everton magic crystal embedded in Pobble. The girl has always been a minor character. Her soul was full of envy and hatred of successful and charismatic people. Hanshin invites Pobble to get rid of the envy that is destroying her from the inside. The guy uses the lightning power of the spear to free the girl from the influence of Everton's magic crystal. There is a huge release of energy that destroys the miserable shack located in the ghetto. Hanshin manages to neutralize Everton's magic crystal and removes it from the girl's body. The guy tightly grips the crystal in his hand and destroys it. The mission to clear the second floor of the tower is successfully completed. Lena and Jack are standing in the corner of the room. They are very scared. Hanshin intends to approach the children and calm them down. The guy observes a huge number of dead townspeople around him. Such a senseless massacre was not in the plot of his novel. Hanshin wants to understand why the plot lines of his stories change. The guy's thoughts are interrupted by Pavel's voice. The girl says that nothing is over yet. She demands the werewolf children be returned to her, and mind control worms are sent in their direction. One of the worms attacks Lena. It embeds itself in her mind. Jack demands to leave his sister alone. Pavel understands that the penetration into Lena's mind was successful. She is trying to take complete control of the girl. Hanshin is in a hurry. Using his magic bracelet, he tries to teleport the holy water as quickly as possible. Lena is enveloped in a huge amount of particles of divine energy. The girl demands that the worms immediately leave her mind. Jack is very frightened by the transformation of his sister. He clings to Hanshin. The guy calms the werewolf child. Lena rises above the ground, her entire body emitting a bright golden light. Hanshin sees a transformation field forming around the werewolf girl's body. Using the transformation field and divine energy, Lena transforms into a doppelganger of Dissect. Lena, in her Dissect guise, says she is the messenger of justice and raises her sword to strike Pavel. Pavel expresses her rage with a loud scream. She realizes that she has completely lost control over the werewolf children. Lena, in her Dissect guise, stands opposite the surprised Hanshin, overjoyed at her release. Lena approaches Pavel lying on the ground. She transforms into her normal form. Jack realizes that the mortal danger is behind him. He rushes to his sister to hug her. The guy admires Lena's transformation skills. He asks his sister how she did it. The werewolf girl says that she was very scared, after which she plunged endlessly into the deep sea abyss. During the dive, Lena realized that she was a werewolf, being taken advantage of by evil people. The werewolf girl saw a bright light. She had only one thought: reach for the light to reunite with it. Lena hears Dissect's voice telling the werewolf girl to never give up. The werewolf girl tells Jack that he too has the opportunity to transform. For this, he needs to imagine the form into which he wants to transform. Jack tries to concentrate to trigger the transformation field, but he fails. The werewolf boy continues to try to transform. He holds the image into which he wants to turn. Hanshin watches closely as Jack successfully transforms into a small floating creature. The main character needs to leave the tower. He does not want to leave the werewolf children alone and invites them to leave the location. Hanshin says that there are many villages nearby where werewolf children can go to start a new life. Lena and Jack do not want to leave their hometown, since they have lived in it all their lives. The werewolf children intend to stay in their home and wait for Dissect to return to them. Hanshin hears a voice that announces the beginning of the movement from the tower. The surrounding space begins to slowly collapse. There is a huge destroyed quarter in the city that is not being restored after the last earthquake. Khan and Yuna search for Hanshin in the destroyed quarter. They use the mana detector. Yuna can't hold back her tears and hopes that nothing happened to Hanshin. The guy calms her down. A loud bang is heard, and a flash of bright light illuminates the deserted streets of the abandoned quarter. Hanshin appears from the fiery cocoon. The guy is dissatisfied with the fact that he quickly moved and did not say goodbye to the werewolf children. The guy comes to his senses after the transfer and realizes that the werewolf children teleported with him. Hanshin is very surprised by this. He does not understand why the werewolf children teleported with him. Lena and Jack are very nervous and ask the guy where their home went. Hanshin asks the werewolf children to take human form. Children take on their usual appearance. The new surrounding space frightens them greatly. The guy calms down the werewolf children. He explains that they are in a neighboring area of his city and they should not worry. Lena and Jack realize that they are very far from home. They begin to worry that Dissect will not be able to find them if it returns. Hanshin reassures the children. He tells them that they will definitely meet Dissect in the future. Yuna appears from around the corner of a destroyed building and quickly approaches the guy. The girl hugs the guy tightly and begins to sob loudly. Hanshin tries to calm her down. Yuna says that Hanshin suddenly disappeared without a trace, which greatly frightened his friends. The guy asks the girl for forgiveness and tells her that he had a special secret mission. Khan approaches the guys. He tells the guy that Yuna was very worried about him. He asks him not to do this in the future. Khan is very surprised that Hanshin was in the sword tower and cleared the first floor there. Hanshin's friends are delighted and surprised that he was able to penetrate the new tower, about which almost nothing is known. Yuna asks Hanshin a question. She is interested in who the children who arrived with the guy are. Hanshin replies to his friends that these are his children. The guy's friends are very surprised and choke on their drinks. Hanshin asks the children to introduce themselves. They are happy to meet the guy's friends. Yuna is fascinated by the appearance of the children and offers them ice cream. A virtual screen appears, informing the main character that he is being summoned to the first floor of the sword tower. Hanshin manages to ask his friends to look after the children. He begins to move to the first floor of the tower. The surrounding space begins to collapse around the guy. He teleports to the magic tower. Hanshin moves to a huge deserted clearing located in a mountain valley. He hears the footsteps of a man approaching him and turns sharply. A sharp combat blade rests against his throat. Dissect has a very angry appearance and requires you to answer several questions. The owner of the tower asks the guy if he is a follower of demon worshippers. Hanshin admires Dissect's appearance, his dark hair and huge purple eyes. Dissect swings his combat blade and strikes a few centimeters from the guy. The tower owner once again asks Hanshin if he is an Everton follower. Dissect says that ordinary people are unaware of the existence of mind-controlling brainworms. The owner of the tower is very worried about the fact that Hanshin has information about details that Dissect does not know about. He recalls that the guy immediately found woven coconut fiber when he was on the first floor of the tower. Hanshin thinks about how he can calm Dissect down and whether he should tell the whole truth now. Dissect understands that the guy's actions are directed against Everton, but he is tormented by strong doubts. He thinks that the guy is hiding a lot from him and decides to check Hanshin soon. Hanshin's voice is heard. The guy tells Dissect that initially there were no towers on Earth. Hanshin says that magic towers began to be built on the basis of myths and legends. If the hero of the myths manages to pass the test, he is rewarded with the right to own the tower. The guy reports that in the novels he read, there was a story called Dissect, where he, along with other heroes, fought the Great Devil. Hanshin continues his story. He says that the towers of 7 heroes appear in the novel, one of which is called the Sword Tower. At this time, Everton and the demon worshippers appear, who are going to enslave the whole world. Hanshin believes that Dissect will never believe that he is a character in his novel. Dissect believes in the guy's words. He understands that Hanshin has nothing to do with Everton. Hanshin declares that he is going to stop Everton and the demon worshippers so that no one else gets hurt. Dissect tells the guy that with his current abilities it will be very difficult to realize his goal. The owner of the tower leaves. He invites Hanshin to visit the tower soon to prepare for the decisive battle. Dissect sits on a throne in his tower. He analyzes the information that Hanshin brought to him. Dissect represents a powerful being who is at the center of the universe and makes real worlds out of fictional stories. The owner of the tower understands that Hanshin is hiding a lot from him, but he wants to believe the guy. The angel demigod Prina realizes what Hanshin might be hiding, and she informs Dissect about it. Prina says that when she prays to God, she feels an energy similar to that coming from Hanshin. The werewolf children have become very close friends with Hanshin's friends, and they have fun spending their free time together. Hanshin is mentally preparing for the tough training that Dissect will conduct. The main character is very pleased that in a short time, Yuna has become very close friends with Lena. The guy asks Yuna how Saren is feeling. He hasn't heard anything about her for a long time. The girl answers Hanshin. She says that Saren is now in the rehabilitation center of the Superhero Association. Hanshin comes to the rehabilitation center to visit Saren. The guy enters the girl's room. Saren stands by the window. She slowly turns to Hanshin. The main character is very happy to meet her and offers Saren her favorite drink. The guy apologizes for not coming earlier because he was very busy. Hanshin asks the girl how she is feeling and asks when she is going to be discharged from the hospital. The girl starts crying and tells the guy that she is scared. She can no longer use mana. The doctors conducted a full examination of Saren and informed her that her mana channels were blocked. The doctor calms the girl down and tells her that in the future, she can work in the analytical department or find other varied work. Saren is very upset because all her life she dreamed of becoming a great superhero. She experiences severe psychological suffering and tells the guy that her dream will never come true. Hanshin remembers his past life. He understands well what it is like when the dream that he has been pursuing all his life is broken into pieces. The girl asks the guy for forgiveness and asks him to leave, as she wants to be alone. Hanshin walks slowly down the hospital corridor, his mind filled with heavy thoughts. The main character, thanks to his own novel, got a chance to become a superhero. Hanshin realizes that many people will not be able to achieve their dreams and are in mortal danger, since the plot of his novel and reality are often different. The guy tries to get unnecessary thoughts out of his head and concentrate. He decides that from now on, no one else should get hurt. Hanshin intends to use immersion in a completely new way in the future. The first thing Hanshin intends to do is take control of the current situation. He opens his work laptop and immerses himself in studying his stories. The Great Devil in the novel Age of Destruction has 6 levels of magical power. There are only 6 followers who received magical power from the Great Devil. Hanshin understands that in the future, he will have to fight with them. The guy remembers the Apostle of Satan Amol and analyzes his characteristics with those described in his novel. He remembers that Amol was attacked by a low-rank formless demon, so he cannot be a true apostle. Low-ranking demons and similar hellish creatures are subordinate to real apostles. Hanshin studies the characteristics of the real apostles described in his novel. He realizes that his skills are not enough to stop them. Children werewolves spend a lot of free time watching TV, watching cartoons. Such entertainment did not exist in their homeworld. Hanshin intends to head to the sword tower immediately and asks the werewolf children if they would like to meet Dissect. Master Pomchun is in his work office. He looks thoughtfully out the window. His loneliness is broken by a girl named Rachel. She enters the office accompanied by a young man. Rachel notices Master Pomchun's sick look and asks him what happened. Master Pomchun tells the girl that when he starts using mana, anomalies occur. Rachel takes Master Pomchun by the hand. She is going to diagnose his energy channels. The girl informs Master Pomchun that one of the mana supply channels is damaged and will not be fully restored. Rachel relieves Master Pomchun of pain and asks him why he needed such a large amount of mana. Master Pomchun is very upset that he will not be able to use the maximum amount of mana. Rachel warns Pomchun. She says that you need to be extremely careful in the future when using mana, since the maximum load can lead to irreversible consequences. Pomchun thanks the girl for her help. He promises to be careful and not overload the damaged channel. The master tells Rachel that he recently acquired a very interesting student. He says that he looks like an ordinary spoiled boy, but he has great potential. Pomchun asks Rachel to conduct a full examination of Hanshin as soon as possible, to which the girl agrees, promising to help Pomchun. The master is confident that as a result of a comprehensive examination, he will learn a lot of new things about Hanshin. Rachel remembers a girl who completely lost the ability to control her mana. Saren is in a state of deep depression. Quite a lot of time has passed, but mana does not appear at the girl's place. The attending physician asks Saren to come to terms with the situation. She promises her that new recovery techniques will be tested in the future. Saren begins to cry. The attending physician approaches her. She consoles the girl and assures her that everything will be fine. The demon worshipper's office was badly destroyed, with many of their dead bodies lying on the floor. One of the demon worshippers shows signs of life. He groans quietly and tries to crawl out of the room. A huge dark priest approaches him and calls the demon worshippers a bunch of stupid mediocrities. The surviving demon worshipper begs for his life and promises to complete the task next time. The dark priest is outraged by such a request. He strikes the demon worshipper with a blow of enormous force. A girl in dark robes appears in the room. She is very upset by the numerous failures in recent operations. The girl says that she cannot understand why an entire squad cannot complete a simple task. She is frustrated that she has to work with losers and fools. The dark priest informs the girl that he has long offered to join the operation. The girl throws an animal skull at the dark priest. She says that she does not have time to deal with such trifles. The dark priest goes into a state of wild rage. He intends to destroy everything around him. A girl's voice is heard. She says that she doesn't care. The dark priest raises his hand to strike. A huge explosion occurs on the upper floors of a huge skyscraper located in a business center. The mysterious girl's name is Shevel. She occupies a high rank in the hierarchy of demon worshippers. Hanshin and the werewolf children stand in front of the sword tower. Lena and Jack are impressed by the huge size of the magic tower. The magical sword tower rises hundreds of meters into the sky, its upper floors hiding in the clouds. Lena doesn't see any doors. She asks Hanshin how they will get inside the tower. The guy wonders whether werewolf children will be able to enter the tower in human form. Hanshin asks the werewolf children to help him and take on the appearance of adults. Lena and Jack gladly fulfill the guy's request. They take on the appearance of young people they saw on TV. Hanshin turns to the werewolf children with a strange request. He asks them to temporarily take on the form of objects. Lena and Jack turn into rings, which Hanshin puts on his hand. Hanshin approaches the huge ritual stone standing opposite the sword tower and places his hand on it. At the same moment, the space around the guy begins to disappear. He moves inside the sword tower. The werewolf children are delighted after the transfer. They ask the guy how soon they can meet Dissect. Hanshin cannot understand which floor of the tower he is on. The guy heard a voice that tells him that it is the third floor. Opposite Hanshin is Dissect. The owner of the tower immediately sensed the presence of Lena and Jack. The were-children transform into their normal form and rush towards Dissect. Lena and Jack can't contain their emotions. They cry loudly and say that they miss Dissect a lot. The owner of the tower is glad to meet you. He tells the werewolf children that he also missed them a lot. Dissect asks Hanshin what he was doing and why he came so late. Hanshin tells Dissect that he is fully prepared to begin his grueling training. The werewolf children sleep carefree under the shade of a huge tree. Not far from them, Dissect instructs Hanshin. The main character receives a mission called Confession of the Tower Owner. He asks Dissect what kind of training he will have. Dissect points Hanshin in the direction of the training ground. The main character looks at the mountains located in the distance. Dissect invites the guy to look down. Hanshin is horrified by the depth of the gorge, which he had not noticed before. Dissect invites the guy to jump down the gorge. Hanshin flatly refuses. He considers it crazy. Dissect pushes the guy. Hanshin screams loudly, falling down a deep gorge. At the bottom of the gorge, there is a huge lake, into which a guy lands. Hanshin promises to take revenge as soon as he rises to the top. He dries his wet clothes and looks around to explore his surroundings. Hanshin realizes that he is in the Grand Canyon, where the owner of the orphanage, Martha, trained Dissect. This wonderful place is overflowing with natural mana, as well as dangerous wild monsters. Hanshin believes that this location provides an opportunity to pump up your mana and acquire many rare artifacts. Dissect is trying to track the movement of the guy who is at the bottom of the gorge. He gives Hanshin a week of time to study himself. The owner of the tower recalls how in the past, he himself underwent training at the bottom of this gorge. Dissect clearly remembers the moment when the owner of the Martha shelter threw him into the Grand Canyon. Hanshin finds a clearing containing a huge amount of woven fiber. He was lucky, as he witnessed the flowering of the plant. Flowering occurs only once in several years, at which time the plant concentrates a huge amount of mana. Among the vast quantities of woven fiber, Hanshin finds rare fruits that possess enormous amounts of concentrated mana. He immediately begins to eat juicy ripe fruits. His body is filled with magical energy. The guy knows the structure of woven fiber well. In addition to useful fruits, it has a unique root system. Rare red moth larvae live in the root system of the plant. Consuming them improves the circulation of mana. Hanshin immediately begins collecting and preparing the magical plant. In the evening, after a hard day of work, the guy decides to relax and feast on the larvae of the red moth. Hanshin eats the ripe fruit of the woven fiber. His body is filled with a huge amount of mana. A virtual screen appears in front of the guy, which tells him that his mana level has increased significantly. Hanshin believes that there is no need to stop there. He eats the fried larvae, thinking that such a way to increase mana is ideal. A huge wild monster emerges from the dark forest thicket into the fire of the fire. The guy hears a crunching sound in the bushes behind him and slowly turns around. At this moment, a huge 2-meter wild bear attacks Hanshin. The animal slowly approaches the guy. Hanshin identifies him as a third-class fighting bear. The guy concentrates a huge amount of magical energy in his fist and raises his hand to strike. Hanshin brings down his fist, filled with a huge amount of magical power, on the head of the wild predator. The bear loses consciousness. The guy was able to deal with the wild predator with one blow. Hanshin is attacked by a pack of silver wolves. The guy is absolutely calm, because he believes that he can easily cope with them. He remembers his first fight with a magical wolf, which took place in a supermarket. The guy decides to warm up and teleports a battle sword with the help of the magic Hanshin bracelet. In a huge tower on the upper floors, there is a bright light. A meeting of demon worshippers is taking place there. The man informs those present that the flower of peace is ready for use. Cheval has never seen such a magical plant. She admires its beauty and potential. The Dark Priest says that it is necessary to reconsider the tactics of the organization, since the old methods no longer work. A man standing at the window reports that a secret operation will soon begin, which under no circumstances must fail. Cheval tells the man standing by the window that they have everything ready to capture the 8th hero. She assumes that her team may run into problems because there is a serious obstacle in their way. Cheval tells those present that Master Pomchun has unique characteristics and skills. The man standing at the window is called Rick. He asks those present not to worry and says that he is taking charge of the Pomchun Master. Rick thinks it's time to see his old comrade. Hanshin wastes no time in vain. Being in the Great Canyon, he systematically exterminates wild monsters. Each victory of a guy over an enemy increases his combat characteristics and skills. The guy puts the battle sword back into the magic bracelet. He believes that he has increased his mana enough, and he needs to go back. But first he intends to collect valuable magical plants and rare artifacts. Hanshin activates the enhanced detection skill to find items of interest. He discovers very rare magical minerals nearby. In order to get to the magical minerals, the guy has to climb a high mountain. Hanshin realizes that the magical minerals are located inside the cave behind a small ledge located on the rock. The climb is difficult for the guy. He is going to use mana to make his task easier. Hanshin channels mana energy between 2 stones, the energy explosion unlocking magical minerals. The guy reaches the treasured entrance to the cave. In a few minutes, he intends to become the owner of a priceless treasure. The entire interior space of the cave is strewn with a huge number of magical stones. Hanshin selects the most valuable specimens among them. He did not expect that the magical minerals would be large and heavy. The guy directs a flow of mana into the windstone, which allows him to activate the hidden properties of the stone, which Hanshin uses for levitation. The main character is going to use the windstone to leave the Grand Canyon. Hanshin intends to mine as many magical minerals as possible to take with him. The next morning comes. Dissect carefully rises from his sleeping place. He does not want to wake up the werewolf children. His attention is drawn to a noise coming from a huge cliff. A joyful and satisfied Hanshin appears in the tower owner's field of vision. The guy reports that he completed the test. Dissect praises Hanshin for completing the task in just 4 days, instead of the allotted 7. The owner of the tower sees that the guy has improved his combat skills, and his mana has increased many times over. Dissect informs the guy that the next stage of training will be to learn sword techniques. Hanshin realizes that his physical skill level and mana amount have reached about the same level as Dissect. The protagonist intends to add to this the real combat experience that he will need to defeat Everton. Dissect orders the guy to quickly take a fighting stance and prepares to repel the attack. Dissect rushes forward and strikes, but Hanshin manages to dodge it at the last moment. The guy tries to use magical protection, but it is not enough to hold off the attacking Dissect. Numerous strong blows break the main character's defenses and throw him aside. Dissect tells the guy that he is using a wooden training sword and attacks at half strength. The master of the sword tower orders Hanshin not to stand still like an idol and to start attacking him. The guy agrees that if Dissect had used all his power, he would have chopped him into pieces long ago. Hanshin suppresses his fear and launches a desperate attack on the owner of the tower. The increased amount of mana allows the main character to maintain a combat rhythm and repel Dissect's counterattacks. Hanshin cannot cope with the feeling of enormous irritation. During the training battle, he has not yet hit Dissect even once. The owner of the tower is trying to understand why, with an increased amount of mana and combat characteristics, Hanshin is not progressing in battle. Dissect believes that training will be effective if there is a real threat to life. A powerful blow throws Hanshin towards a tree. The huge tree breaks from the powerful blow. Dissect says that every time a person overcomes death, he becomes stronger. The doctor carefully reviews Saren's medical record. She realizes that the girl's health is improving. Saren feels that her physical condition has improved greatly, but she experiences great mental suffering. The doctor tells the girl that she has one last simple test left, which will involve drawing blood. The medical officer smiles evilly. The woman says that they will begin drawing blood immediately. Hanshin continues to fend off Dissect's strongest attacks. The guy needs to hold out for another hour to complete the training. The main character is very tired, but he is pleased with the understanding that he is beginning to anticipate the beginning of the Dissect attack. Confident in his ability to predict the enemy's actions, Hanshin decides to launch a counterattack. The counterattack was successful, forcing Dissect to retreat into a defensive position. Dissect tells the guy that the time for games is over and delivers a series of powerful blows. Hanshin asks for a short break, but Dissect tells him that there will be no breaks during the actual battle. As the tip of the wooden training blade approaches Hanshin's face, he hears a signal indicating that the training sparring is over. Dissect tells the guy that he was very lucky today, and that in a real fight he would already be dead. The subordinate reports to Master Pomchun that a series of terrorist attacks have occurred on the outskirts of the city. The guy reports that a huge number of civilians were injured. Master Pomchun studies secret documents. He cannot understand what goals the terrorists were pursuing. Everton's signs have appeared at the site of the terrorist attack, which are currently being examined by experts. Master Pomchun understands that only a first-generation superhero could organize such atrocities. Master Pomchun's thoughts are interrupted by the loud sound of the door opening. An excited young man runs into his office. The guy informs the master that a new magic tower has appeared on the outskirts of the city. The huge black magic tower located on the outskirts of the city is called the Tower of the Reborn Hero. Master Pomchun plans to visit the new magic tower immediately. He orders his subordinates to collect all available information about the tower, as well as find out the location of a superhero named Rick. Pomchun activates his magic vision skill. He sees traces of mana that lead to the tower. Master Pomchun realizes that the footprints belong to the first-generation superhero, and the magic tower is connected to Everton. Pomchun orders the tower to be cordoned off and the operational situation to be reported to him every hour. Inside the Tower of the Reborn Hero is a captive alchemist, chained to the ceiling, begging for help. Rick approaches the captive alchemist. He silently watches the torment of the prisoner. Rick informs the prisoner that his mana has been almost completely absorbed and he will soon die. The captive alchemist asks to spare him. He says that he has 2 small children. Mr. Rick takes out a pistol and fires a shot. A dark priest enters the room. He is dissatisfied with Rick's actions, since he has a small number of prisoners left for experiments. The dark priest tells Rick that he does not have enough prisoners to continue the experiment. Rick demands that the dark priest not shift other people's problems onto him. The dark priest casts a withering glance at Rick, his eyes full of desire to use him as material for his dark experiments. Mr. Rick is filled with rage. He feels great hatred for the dark priest. A large amount of dark energy is released, and a huge crimson aura appears around Rick. Dark energy is transformed into active dark matter, which begins to envelop the body of the Dark Priest. The dark matter reaches the Dark Priest's throat and begins to choke him. Mr. Rick approaches the Dark Priest. He points a gun to his head. Mr. Rick tells the Dark Priest that if he shows such disrespect towards him, he will die. Cheval enters the room. She invites the men to calm down and concentrate on completing the task. Cheval carefully examines the deceased captive alchemist. She is unhappy that the experiments did not achieve their goal. Mr. Rick advises his comrades to work harder, since they do not have enough mana to open the Hell Gate. Cheval says that it will be impossible to do this in the near future without using the mana of the 8th hero. The Dark Priest believes that the 8th hero must be captured before his mana is fully awakened. Mr. Rick says that they can use Master Pomchun instead of the 8th hero. His mana will be enough to open the gate. Master Pomchun is a top-class superhero and has a huge amount of mana. Cheval believes that this task is extremely difficult to complete. It will be much easier to capture the 8th hero, who has not yet awakened. Mr. Rick says that this may take a lot of time. He suggests luring Master Pomchun inside the tower. Cheval reports that it will be extremely difficult to deal with Pomchun. Rick replies that he will take it upon himself. The conversation of Everton's followers is interrupted by the Great Dark Master entering the room. The Great Dark Master's name is Conrgitas, and those present in the room kneel before him. Conrgitas is a reborn superhero. He asks those present why they have collected so little mana so far. Mr. Rick apologizes to Conrgitas. He says that the process is a little delayed, since they cannot find out the location of the 8th hero. Conrgitas leaves the room. He demands that tomorrow's operation be perfect. The reborn hero watches from the window the people below at the entrance to the tower. He considers them vile insects. Hanshin and the Sword Tower Master continue their intense training. Hanshin's sword skills improve, and he is able to repel Dissect's lightning attacks. The owner of the Sword Tower asks how Hanshin is feeling. The guy hasn't slept for more than 2 days. Hanshin says that he is fine, as he has a large amount of recovery potion in his supply. The guy demands to continue training. Many hours of training benefit Hanshin. His sword technique has improved significantly. Hanshin is able to defend against most of the techniques that the tower owner uses. Dissect warns the guy that he is about to use a complex technique. The owner of the tower attacks the guy. He uses his signature technique called a frontal attack. Hanshin parries Dissect's blow, but lacks the necessary experience to work at close range. Dissect catches the right moment. He suddenly performs a sweep. Hanshin falls to the ground. The guy instantly groups himself, which allows him to quickly get to his feet. Hanshin is ready to continue the fight. The guy delivers a blow that the owner of the Dissect Tower is unable to parry. Hanshin's joy was short-lived. Dissect knocks the training sword out of the guy's hands. Dissect informs the guy that they are moving to the next level of training. The owner of the Sword Tower says that they have warmed up well. He is going to tell Hanshin about the new skill. Dissect says that every superhero should have their own unique skill. He is going to create a form that suits Hanshin. The main character understands that we are talking about the concept that he described in his novel. A unique skill awakens only in a select few. The skill of form is created by independent hard work. Hanshin's combat skills will develop along with his character and mana. Dissect tells the guy that using the form is the easiest way to destroy enemies. The owner of the tower asks Hanshin to get ready. He is going to demonstrate to him the use of the form. Dissect tells the guy that his favorite form is called Space Cut. A huge fiery aura forms around the owner of the tower. He raises his sword to strike. Hanshin feels a sense of wild horror. He has never seen such a powerful force. The guy can't come to his senses for a long time. He observes the destruction caused by the blow called the Cut of Space. Dissect tells the guy that all superheroes have different forms, but they are united by the energy of mana. The angel demigod Prina owns a form with which she connects divine energy with the human world. Exorcist Michael has a form with which he can manipulate subtle energy fields. Dissect tells Hanshin that the form skill reflects the essence of a person's nature. A guy can have a form that suits only him. Hanshin feels genuine joy and intends to acquire his own form skill in the near future. Cheval screams loudly. She still can't pick up the vibrations of the 8th hero to find his location. Rick stands at the large window. He looks carefully at the people who have gathered at the base of the tower. The Dark Priest does not intend to wait any longer. He calls for the operation to begin right now. Rick is going to open the Hell Gate with the help of the Flower of Peace. But to do this, he needs the mana of Master Pomchun. Cheval stands next to the sleeping girl. She agrees with Mr. Rick's plan. Cheval is trying to wake up a sleeping girl. She doesn't understand how she can sleep at such a crucial moment. The girl says that she cannot defeat her dream. Cheval demands that she stop time around the tower. Mr. Rick orders the girl to stop time immediately. He doesn't want anyone to see them leaving the Tower of Rebirth. The girl agrees to stop time around the tower, but she warns that this effect will not last long. Rick understands what the girl is talking about. He observes below a large number of people who have mana. The girl plunges into a deep trance. She begins to stop time around the Tower of Rebirth. Mr. Rick, along with his associates, leaves the Tower of Rebirth. Time has stopped around the tower. The dark priest mocks the motionless man. The man scolds the young man. He asks him how he was able to break the healing potion. The young man is haunted by strange sensations. He cannot remember the moment when he dropped the flask with medicine on the ground. An unfamiliar man in the crowd begins to behave very strangely. Dark energy begins to surround him. The man falls to the ground and convulses. Passers-by come up to him to help. The man was a follower of Everton. He successfully summoned a monster. Passers-by are trying to escape. A huge monster roars loudly and rushes in pursuit of the fleeing people. A pack of aggressive wolves attacks the defenseless residents of the city, while a stranger watches what is happening from the roof of a tall building. Mr. Rick informs his associates that their time has come and invites them to have fun. He stands on the roof of a tall building and is about to activate a magical flower to open a portal to hell. The dark priest jumps from the roof of the building onto the fleeing defenseless townspeople. He generates streams of fiery energy in his hands to bring them down on innocent people. Cheval teleports a huge number of monsters, which head into the streets of the city in dense rows. Master Pomchun is in his office studying secret documents. After analyzing the information, he realizes that Mr. Rick is in the Tower of Rebirth. The door to Master Pomchun's office opens and Rachel enters the room, announcing that she has urgent news. Rachel reports the disappearance of a large number of superheroes and claims that this is connected with the Tower of Rebirth. Master Pomchun drinks his coffee slowly. He remains calm and listens carefully to the girl. A young man comes into the office and suggests immediately exploring the Tower of Rebirth. Master Pomchun informs those present that there is a first-generation superhero named Rick in the tower. He also mentions that recently the city headquarters of superheroes was attacked. Many employees went missing, and Mr. Rick is behind it all. Master Pomchun says that the Rebirth Tower is heavily guarded, and he plans to capture Rick when he leaves the tower. Suddenly, the conversation is interrupted by noise and loud explosions happening outside. Rachel wonders what it could be. Master Pomchun and his assistants immediately go outside and head towards the city center. A huge number of monsters have left magical dungeons and escaped into the real world. They destroy everything that gets in their way. Mr. Rick is confident that as soon as he activates the magic flower, Master Pomchun will sense it and fall into the prepared trap. The city has plunged into hellish madness. Monsters are destroying defenseless people and setting houses on fire. Monsters are spreading throughout the city, capturing more and more new areas. Residents can only flee. Master Pomchun wonders how Mr. Rick was able to leave the Tower of Rebirth unnoticed. The night sky above the city is illuminated by a beam of bright light emitted by the Flower of Life. Master Pomchun instantly notices this. If the Flower of Life opens a hellish portal, human civilization faces enslavement and destruction. Virtual screens appear in front of all the country's superheroes, calling for them to stop the great evil. Master Pomchun orders his subordinates to begin evacuating the residents, and he himself is going to get to the Flower of Life to prevent the opening of the portal. He takes out his phone and tries to call the government and the Minister of Defense. Master Pomchun reports that the threat is greater than he expected and asks for a state of emergency. With the next call, Master Pomchun informs the Guild of the Heavenly Palace about a mortal threat. Master Pomchun's mind is filled with anger and hatred. He intends to destroy Everton. Mr. Rick hopes that Pomchun will fall into his trap. He is looking forward to meeting him. Hanshin is in the sword tower, continuing to hone his sword skills. With the help of immersion, he can use the skills of the heroes of his novel. But this is not enough. He aims to master his unique form. Lena believes that Hanshin needs rest, since the guy does not feel sorry for himself at all and spends all his time training. The main character thinks about the form skill. He tries to understand what his unique ability is. The tower described in his novel has become a reality. The guy decides that his unique ability is this creation. Hanshin is in the middle of a forest clearing. He intends to create a magical woven fiber. Dissect and the werewolf children approach him. The owner of the sword tower asks Hanshin what he is doing. Dissect tells the guy that he doesn't have much time and he needs to find his form as quickly as possible. The owner of the sword tower is distracted from the conversation. He pays attention to the change in the energy field around him. Dissect sees a large flower of magical woven fiber appear next to him. Hanshin and the werewolf children find themselves near a magic stone standing at the entrance to the tower. The guy cannot understand why Dissect teleported them. Jack tells Hanshin that he had a lot of fun and asks the guy to visit the sword tower again later. Pomchun plunges into his thoughts and tells the werewolf children that in the future they will definitely stay with Dissect. Master Pomchun, together with superheroes, sets up an energy shield to protect residents from monsters. Hanshin is in the office of the Superhero Association. He is surprised by the silence and absence of people. In the corridor, the guy meets Khan and Yuna, who ask Hanshin where he has been all this time. Khan and Yuna inform the guy that during his absence, the city came under a powerful attack from monsters. The situation in the city is catastrophic. People are trying to escape from monsters and hide in emergency shelters. Hanshin learns that the hero of his novel, the great Dark Master Konergidas, has become a reality. In the guy's novel, the Dark Master was destroyed in the first chapter. This is completely inconsistent with what is happening in reality now. Khan and Yuna suggest the guy not to waste time and go to the city to face Everton. Yuna reports that she has already completed all the necessary calculations for teleportation. The friends are very excited. They take each other's hands, and teleportation begins to a city captured by monsters. A circle of fire forms in the wasteland, in the center of which Hanshin and his friends appear. The girl looks around. She realizes that there was an error in the teleportation calculations. Yuna realizes that someone interfered with the teleportation process and distorted the coordinates, at which time a huge monster creeps up on her from behind. The girl turns around sharply and sees a huge sword in the monster's hand approaching her. Hanshin reacts to the attack with lightning speed. He cuts the monster in half with a trained blow. The main character and his friends are very close to the flower of the world. The flower emits enormous energy. Hanshin cannot understand how the demon worshippers collected such a huge amount of mana. In the Hanshin novel, the great Dark Master Konergidas uses his own mana to open the gates of hell. Yuna is very nervous. She assumes that Everton's followers have captured Master Palm Chun. Hanshin invites his friends to start running, since there is very little time left. The guy believes that first of all, it is necessary to get rid of the flower of life, and only then deal with Everton's followers. People have many desires, and those whose desires are perverted become easy prey for universal evil. The devil constantly tempts such people. Their souls feed the devil with their energy. In the novel Hanshin, only one superhero of the first generation could not resist the temptation of the devil, and that was Master Konergidas. The Dark Master Konergidas gave his soul and mana to the devil, calling great evil into the world. A pack of hellish wolves attacks Hanshin. The guy deftly dodges them. Hanshin, together with his friends, systematically destroys the monsters of the dungeon. The guy is trying to get to the Flower of Life as quickly as possible in order to stop the summoning process. Hanshin encourages his friends. He says that there is very little left to the city center. Dissect watches the battlefield closely, concerned that Hanshin is facing such a powerful opponent as Konergidas. Hanshin hopes that the 8th Chosen One will soon awaken and help them in the battle. Dissect hears the voice of the demigod angel Prina. She hopes that Hanshin will cope with the mission entrusted to him. Dissect believes that the guy is not strong enough to completely stop the summoning of evil. Hanshin and his friends make their way to the city center, but are prevented by a huge number of monsters. The guy watches a man standing in the middle of the street who has not yet been evacuated. Yuna recognizes the stranger as her old mentor, who taught her at the academy, and she asks what she is doing here. Yuna's mentor turns to the girl and says that people are not able to resist a huge evil force. Hanshin asks the girl a question. The guy is interested in who she is and what she is doing here. Yuna's former mentor tells the guy that she is an employee of the association and is performing an important secret mission. Hanshin doubts the veracity of the girl's answer. He uses his depth vision skill to scan the stranger.